Good morning. It's 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Ever since last evening, Israel and Iran have been trading attacks. Israel bombing Iran's nuclear program and facilities, and Iran responding with drone attacks. ABC's Louis Martinez covers the Pentagon. He says Israel was concerned that Iran was closing in on having the capability to create a nuclear weapon.
Israel felt that the turnaround time was so short now that in a matter of days they could create nuclear weapons and use that enriched uranium just for that purpose. So what we have seen are dozens of airstrikes across Iran, and not just against facilities, but also targeting senior Iranian leaders.
The State Department says the U.S. did not provide any assistance or have any involvement in the Israeli strike. Metro Nashville police will be out in full force at the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville today, and that is where Kilmar Abrego Garcia will be arraigned on human trafficking charges. U.S. Magistrate Judge Sarah Holmes will also hear arguments today over whether Abrego Garcia should be detained as he awaits trial. Now, Politico is reporting that even if she decides against keeping him behind bars until trial, Abrego Garcia would likely be put in immigration custody. So then he currently faces 2 federal felony charges for transporting undocumented immigrants and for conspiring with others to do so. Tomorrow will be another day of protesting in Nashville. The so-called No Kings protests will mirror those taking place around the country, just as President Trump puts on a huge military parade to celebrate the U.S. Army. Well, State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson telling WTN's Matt Murphy show peaceful protests are welcome, but rioters will be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Our incredible folks at the Department of Homeland Security, Tennessee Department of Safety, Highway Patrol, TBI, they are obviously monitoring all of that. I'm sure that Metro Police are doing the same.
Metro Police have set up mobile surveillance cameras at Bicentennial Park, where one protest is scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
U.S. stock futures are down and the dollar is higher as investors run for safety in the face of the Israeli airstrikes on Iran and Tehran's promise to retaliate. European stocks likewise were selling off overnight. Despite the volatility in the stock market, retirees did better last month when the average Social Security payment reached $2,002.39. It was the first time in history that the monthly average has exceeded $2,000. On this Friday the 13th, Krispy Kreme customers who buy a dozen donuts of any type can get another dozen original glazed for 13 cents. Tomorrow the chain rolls out 2 Father's Day themed donuts. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Stock futures way lower. We've got the Dow futures down 521 right now. The NASDAQ futures down 320 and the S&P futures falling 72. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got an accident this morning. It's on Edmondson Pike at Mount Pisgah Road. This one involves some injuries, so that may be there for a bit this morning. Otherwise, you're looking pretty good on the road so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well. Man, there's a lot going on for your Friday the 13th. A lot happened overnight, of course, in Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu.
Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs. And they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed never again. Well, never again is now.
That is, again, Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu basically laying out his justification for bombing Iran. And when you hear the amount of munitions, we'll get into this at 5:35, but when you hear the amount of munitions and the way that this whole thing was executed, it is a fascinating, fascinating story. So there is a lot going on this morning. Benjamin Netanyahu again, Donald Trump as well, both have said that a nuclear Iran simply is not acceptable. Iran, of course, it felt like yesterday we all kind of knew that this was coming, and it did.
The Israeli Air Force is currently striking Iranian nuclear facilities and long-range missile capabilities. This is a significant strike that is expected to take place in a series of waves. According to an IDF official, the opening wave targeted more than a dozen different sites in Iran. Explosions were reported around the capital of Tehran, and as we speak, a state of emergency has been declared across Israel as the Israelis are bracing for possible Iranian retaliation.
Yeah, Iran said that they are retaliating. They had sent somewhere over 100 drones towards Israel. Now, Scott Jennings has tweeted out, he's apparently in Israel, and he tweeted out that those drones have been shot down by Israel. They had over 200 warplanes bombing Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Also, and this is my favorite part, because I'm all for what Israel did. By the way, this was unilateral, they say, as we talked about at great length yesterday. United States not involved, they say. Israel also says that 3 of Iran's top generals were killed. One of those killed was the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Now, remember that the Revolutionary Guard, they're in Iran, they're the ones that trained Hamas for the attack on Israel. And so the leader of the Revolutionary Guard has been killed. Last night, Netanyahu, of course, speaking to the Israeli people and the world about the more alarming developments that he says forced his hand as of late.
For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
Yeah, and Israel seems to be taking the same approach. It's almost like, when Israel goes in, man, they are all in. And so they're taking the same approach that they did with Hamas in Gaza. Get aggressive, go after it. Everyone knows that Iran believes that Israel has no right to exist. Israel feels like the recent Iranian moves have been aggressive. And by the way, so does Donald Trump. We spoke yesterday to Stephen Bucci, and I covered for you the president has been in negotiations with Iran. However, they have been slow walking. They really haven't been cooperating. And so the president, of course, getting incredibly frustrated. Iran does have a nuclear program with uranium enrichment as high as right now, 60%. Now, you need 90% for nuclear weapons. And so, look, I'm no scientist, but those that are say that this is alarming because what Iran has been doing as they're slow walking President Trump in negotiations, they have been getting closer and closer to that 90%. And let's all be honest, Iran has never been transparent of their nuclear programs, ever. And so this secrecy obviously leads to zero trust. As a matter of fact, just a few days ago, Western nations asked the United Nations nuclear watchdog to censure Iran over, wait for it, noncompliance with nuclear inspectors. Now, that was just a few days ago, and so Benjamin Netanyahu, I see why he feels justified to do what he did.
80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action.
Yep.
We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program.
Yeah, and that is clearly what they were going for. They were going for the nuclear programs. They were going for the ballistic missiles. They were also going for the scientists and the military leaders as well. And he did speak of those ballistic missiles and how they could, at some point, carry nuclear warheads. And so part of the dynamic here, at least to me, is that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, they were caught napping on October 7th and in the months leading up to October 7th and that attack from Hamas. There was quite some time of relative peace before October 7th, and as Israel, quite frankly, was playing nice, Hamas was plotting with Iran to attack, which they did. And so I think that Netanyahu was like, that is not going to happen again. And so Israel last night went scorched earth. They went at it alone, they say, and they're going at it alone here as well. And this is something that, Netanyahu, he's saying this is going to be wave after wave after wave of attacks.
The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program.
So the big question is, what happens next? Fox News has Trey Yingst in Israel.
The question now is not only A, how the Iranians are going to respond, but B, if this is going to drag out into a days or even weeks-long event. We heard tonight from President Trump speaking with Bret Baier, saying that he still hopes Iran will come back to the negotiating table, but everything is up in the air right now.
And we'll have to see exactly what happens. By the way, Bret Baier did call in to Fox News last night. After that conversation with President Trump, the president's perspective is straight ahead. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads.
Well, we've got a crash in Brentwood this morning. It's on Edmondson Pike at Mount Pisgah Road. Otherwise, the major roadways heading into Nashville looking pretty good. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. As far as your weather, today it's going to be a high of 86. Mixed clouds and sun, scattered rain and storms. And you know when it's supposed to start raining, Joan Jones? From what I saw?
This afternoon.
I saw
right
around 8 a.m.
Oh.
Now, I don't know. I go by weather bug. Everybody's got different, whatever. But they show that the rain is going to start right around 8 a.m. I don't know if that's, who knows with these weather people.
Right.
But,
well, so I was looking at the National Weather Service, and they were saying this afternoon into tonight.
Okay. We'll have to see who, what we could do?
Take some bets?
We could do that as well. I would love for today's little Kilmar Abrego Garcia, love fest. I would love for that to be rained out.
That would be kind of nice. Rain is one thing, but when it begins to be a thunderstorm,
right?
Everybody has to duck and take cover.
They do. By the way, rain on Saturday, a high of 83. Sunday, possible storms as well, and a high of 84. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Is Israel... Are they still at this hour, Joan? Do you know if Israel is still attacking Iran at this moment in time, or is Wave 1 over?
So, according to Fox News, Wave 1 is over.
Okay.
And right now, Iran is just responding with drones. The drones are being shot down by Israel, and Jordan is helping. And so there may be another wave, but, of course, they're keeping their...
Cards
keeping it all, close to the vest.
Yeah.
But, so far, they have done a lot of damage to the senior Iranian regime.
Oh, a bunch of them are dead.
Yeah, there's 3 dead, and I think it's 6 scientists. So,
well, they went after the nuclear scientists. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're an egghead in Iran, your life expectancy has been cut short by like 30 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. President Trump's, thank you, Joan. President Trump's reaction, Brett Baer spoke to the president on the phone as all of this was happening, and Brett called into Fox News to talk about what the president told him.
Chris, I just spoke to President Trump. One thing, the president was aware of Israel's action before it happened. There were no surprises here. But he gave me a quote. He said, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We'll see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back.
That's exactly right. Now, remember, again, that Trump has been trying to negotiate with Iran, trying to get them to stop their goals of producing nuclear weapons. And so part of what Trump has been trying to do is tell Iran and the Iranian people, your country can be stronger. Your economy can be stronger. Just stop with all the nuclear ambitions. Now, I'm on record as saying that I don't believe that President Trump should be negotiating with Iran, but the president and I will disagree on that. So I do like what the Israelis have done with Iran, because it was clear to President Trump and everyone else that they were dragging their feet, and the president was frustrated because he couldn't make headway. Now, enter Israel again. They had this window to strike. They hit Iran months ago and seriously damaged their defense systems. Those defense systems were about to come back online. So Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu felt like this was the time to strike. So now the question is, will those negotiations continue? Because remember, Steve Witkoff, he was supposed to go to continue those discussions with Iran. I think it was this weekend. And so now the question is, will Iran suddenly, now that they're weakened, will they decide to take part in those negotiations a little bit more seriously? This could almost be described, even though America was not involved, they say, the Israelis and President Trump, they could be going by the notion, Ronald Reagan, peace through strength. You weaken Iran. If you weaken Iran, and clearly they are weakened this morning, you weaken Iran, then perhaps they'll be more willing to negotiate with President Donald Trump and not slow walk the way that they've been slow walking it here for the past several months.
Now, the president, I know, has spoken to Prime Minister Netanyahu several times in recent days. As I mentioned before, the Trump administration reached out to a key Middle Eastern ally beforehand to acknowledge this strike was going to happen, but that the U.S. was not involved in the strike, but the goal still to get Iran back to the negotiating table. There was this building frustration about what Iran was doing at that negotiating table with Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy. He was scheduled again for Sunday. Looks like, obviously, that may change the dynamic there. Whether that moves forward at all depends on what Iran does in response.
Yeah, as far as response goes, Joan and I were speaking about this a few moments ago. A bunch of drones were headed from Iran to Israel. Those have now been shot down. Donald Trump has said over and over again, America was not involved in this, but Trump has also said, and I think we all agree, that Israel does have a right to defend itself, and that's what they say that they did last night.
The U.S. will defend its, will help defend Israel if needed. And as I mentioned in the last time we talked, the Iron Dome has been replenished in Israel in recent weeks. So there's still this hope in the president's sense and the people around him that this changes the dynamic for Iran and that this does not launch into what will be a back and forth.
There you go. So Brett Baer, Fox News. We had Ted Cruz. He was on with Sean Hannity last night. Got some audio from him as well. Very busy morning for your Friday the 13th, and hope you are doing well. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There it is. Joan Jones has the news at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, new information about that Israel strike on Iran's nuclear sites, and also an appeals court rules in favor of President Trump. Those stories and more coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
527, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you being here. All right. Watch us on YouTube and also X, 997WTN.com and so forth. Listen to us on all of the radio apps. Go to YouTube. Take the Daily Dan poll. Today's poll, Joan, it sounds like we may have a good one.
Oh, no.
Do you agree with President Trump's plans? I think he's going to sign an executive order protecting illegal alien farm workers. Now, this is what Donald Trump said yesterday with a question from Peter Ducey.
What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers. And leisure, too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
All right, so basically the president is issuing or is going to do what he can to protect hotels and so forth, farm workers as well. So the Daily Dan poll, watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe if you would. Do you agree with President Trump's executive order protecting illegal alien farm workers? And so far, Joan, we've got 47% of the folks taking the poll saying yes and no, 53%.
See, that's a good poll.
It is a good poll.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is a worthy conversation to have. We have always said, and conservatives have always said, that we need to fix the system to bring in legal immigration because that has been and is a complete train wreck. And so that is the other part of that immigration discussion.
So they do have visas specifically for people to come into the country, during seasonal periods for exactly that, farm work.
Yep.
The problem is that it gets abused.
They'd absolutely all the visa programs get abused. Yeah. And so, all right, coming up at 5:35, have you heard some of the details on how Israel was able to infiltrate Iran?
It's interesting.
This is a crazy story. I've got that for you and a whole lot more straight ahead. By the way, for the Democrats today, Friday the 13th, it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day. And we're going to talk about that as well right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're sitting at 74 degrees right now. It's pretty cloudy, and we are expecting thunderstorms throughout the day. Keep it here, and we'll bring you the latest in weather right after the news. Iran is confirming that 3 military commanders and the Iranian regime were killed in last night's attack by Israel, along with 6 nuclear scientists. Mossad said that strike was carried out in 3 phases, and the mission has been in the works for years. Here's Fox News' Alex Hogan.
According to the Israeli officials, it included Mossad commando units deploying weapons near Iran's surface-to-air missiles and drones that had been smuggled deep into the country well before the attack, and they were then activated overnight, again showing the elaborate planning that went into setting all of this up, a mission that was years in the making to try to crack down and hammer some of Iran's nuclear facilities.
Now, in response, Iran sent 100 drones, and Israel, along with Jordan, are now attempting to neutralize them. Israel is telling its residents they do expect Iran will attempt to continue to retaliate. Other news of the day, a federal appeals court says, yes, President Trump does have the ability to deploy the National Guard to Los Angeles, blocking, at least for a few days, another judge's order that found the call-up illegal and unconstitutional. Now, this three-judge panel set a Tuesday hearing on the matter. That means the National Guardsmen will stay in L.A. under President Trump's order during the planned weekend protests. That Boeing Dreamliner crash in western India yesterday, of the 242 people on board, one has amazingly survived.
Air India making a stunning announcement. One person on board survived. Extraordinary video appears to show the sole survivor, Vishwas Ramesh, limping away minutes after the crash, smoke billowing in the background. He reportedly told local media he doesn't know how he made it out alive. His family here in Britain speaking out, grateful Vishwas survived, but tragically his brother AJ still missing.
That is ABC's Ian Pannell. Now, the U.S. is sending a team to India to help find out why that plane went down. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. You know, it's a pretty quiet start this morning. We have no delays to speak of if you're traveling on 24 into Nashville this morning. Little slow on 65 heading through the Goodlettsville area on your way into Nashville. Otherwise, 40 is looking good. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It is Friday the 13th. Certainly was for Iran. Joan Jones is here. A couple of things, Joan.
Yeah.
So you remember when Ukraine smuggled in those drones on trucks into Russia?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it looks like that's kind of what Israel did as well. And you reported on some of this during your newscast as well. But this is fascinating. An IDF spokesman says this: 200 planes dropped 330 munitions. The chief of staff, the head of the Revolutionary Guards, and other senior officials were eliminated. They say we embarked on this operation to ensure our existence. So what they did, what Israel did, they secretly built capabilities inside Iran aimed at damaging Iran's strategic missile array and air defense systems as well. They say Mossad agents smuggled large quantities of specialized weaponry into Iran, deployed them across the country, and launched them at targets with precision and effectiveness. So they did exactly what Ukraine did. They smuggled this stuff into Iran.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this.
Over the course of now, Fox News is saying that that planning took years to make it happen.
Yeah.
So, and if you remember when they did the strikes on what was it, the Hamas, the telephones, the
pagers.
Pagers. Oh, pagers. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're genius.
Oh, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
And this may have been in the planning for years. I think that they didn't have a specific date in mind. They just knew that they wanted to be ready when it happens.
Yeah.
So apparently they have a drone base. They say that Israel established an explosive drone base inside Iran, which launched attacks on surface-to-surface missile launchers at one of these bases near Tehran. Launchers considered a strategic and civilian threat to Israel. Now, President Trump has, and I don't know if you had this, he just posted this a little bit ago. He says on Truth Social, Donald Trump, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. The president saying, I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. President Trump saying, I told them it would be much worse than anything they know. Anticipated or were told that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. In other words, Trump has been warning Iran, listen, we're not going to attack you, and we're not in on it, but Israel has a lot of our equipment, and they do know how to use it.
Yeah.
So you might want to come to the table. Because if Iran negotiated a deal with Trump to eliminate or stop their nuclear ambitions, then Israel wouldn't have attacked Iran because, remember, Israel is trying to stop Iran's nuclear ambitions. So they go on. President Trump posting on Truth Social, and really this is a message not only to Americans but also to Iran, because it's not too late. They can still come to the table.
Well, just this morning, there are some reports that say that Iran has backed out of any talks.
Well, that's not very smart. Because what Israel and Trump, I believe, were trying to do was weaken Iran to the point where they came back to the negotiating table. Yeah. And so Iran, for Iran's sake, that just to me is not very smart. It's just not very smart.
We'll see, because, I saw that headline on Fox News, but I looked for it online, and I really can't find anything to substantiate that. I will trust that Fox News has sourced that, and they have some information about it. Yep. So I'll keep an eye on that. But it appears that Iran is just pulling away completely. You
want to hear this? He says, Trump says, this is so Trumpian.
Yeah.
Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now. And it will only get worse, President. Listen.
Died like a dog.
Died like a dog, they did. I love President Trump.
I know.
He's
plain
so Trumpian.
spoken. It's great.
Yep. He says, basically coming back to the table, no more death, no more destruction. Come back to the negotiating table. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. So that is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about this Senator Alex Padilla?
That is the craziest thing I think I have ever seen.
So, and I'm certain that Murphy Show talked about this yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
But in California, this Senator Alex Padilla, a United States Senator,
Yeah.
he tries to crash Kristi Noem's press conference. This is what it sounded like.
Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
And they're like dragging him out.
Yeah.
It's just like they've got him by the forearms and the armpits, and eventually he ends up on the floor.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing: dude walks in. Kristi Noem is in the middle of this press conference.
I was watching this in real time.
You saw it in real time?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't see it in real time, but he walks in, and the press conference, I believe it just started, correct?
No, it was actually pretty far on into the press conference. And as it was happening, she kept talking. And the implication of that, I think, is she just thought there was a protester in the audience that snuck in, whatever. So she just and they tackled him right away. So she just continued.
Yeah,
didn't miss a beat.
He has no identification, and let's all be honest. There have been a lot of death threats against Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and anyone within the Trump administration.
Exactly.
So he barges in. He conveniently has no ID that identifies him as a senator. And so to me, clearly, this is, more performative moves by the Democrats.
On the ground. Hands behind your back.
He's on the floor.
Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands, go ahead, put them behind my back. All right.
Cool. One hand.
Listen to the handcuffs.
Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
Love those handcuffs. Now, here's where I'm going to quibble, and I'm going to get irritated as all get out. They find out that he's a senator.
Yeah.
And they take off the damn handcuffs.
Yep.
Now, here's my question. And I tweeted this. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. Here's my question. If there are charges to be brought, and I don't know what those charges would be, but if there's charges to be brought, well, then why would they not bring those charges just because he's a senator? I mean, I thought we learned that no one is above the law, right? I mean, that's what we've been hearing for, years.
Yes.
No one is above the law. So if they put him in handcuffs when they didn't know that he was a senator, well, then why would they take off the handcuffs when they found out that he was? Is he getting special treatment?
Yeah.
And so Noem continues her press conference. Padilla out in the hallway trying on a nice pair of handcuffs. And moments after the ambush, by the way, and you probably saw this, moments after the ambush, Noem was asked what her thoughts were on what exactly happened. This is what she said.
Would you please address Senator Padilla's interruption to your press conference?
I'm not.
Even pressing charges for what we just witnessed here.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know the senator. He did not request a meeting with me or to speak with me. So when I leave here, I'll have a conversation with him and visit and find out really what his concerns were. I think everybody in America would agree that that wasn't appropriate. That if you wanted to have a civil discussion, especially as a leader, a public official, that you would reach out and try to have a conversation. For instance, I have left voicemails for Governor Newsom wanting to have a conversation. Has he returned them? No, he hasn't. I know that the White House has reached out and had conversations with Mayor Bass as well. And so that's what you do to try to start these conversations and ask for partnerships. Unfortunately, we haven't met that in this area. I'll visit with the senator and find out really what his concerns are and what we can do.
And here's the thing.
And she did that, by the way.
Yeah, she did. She spoke to him for 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. With press conferences, and I've been to many, you have as well, Joan, is that you have the crux of the press conference, and then you have a Q&A.
Yep.
Most often you have a Q&A. So Padilla storms in no ID, and he says, I'm Senator Padilla. Well, that's fine, but nobody knows who you are, dude. And so how do we know that you're telling the truth? Once they did ascertain that he was, in fact, a senator acting very unsenator-like, they uncuffed him. But while all of this was going on inside, Senator Padilla, I know you'll be shocked, found some cameras and microphones outside.
I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question.
So,
wait, is he crying?
Yeah, it looked like he was kind of crying. Yeah. So here's the thing, is that if he had a question, then he was kind of charging the podium.
Yes, and he wasn't. He didn't have a question. He had an accusation to lodge.
Right.
That's all he was doing.
Well, that's what they do.
If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
I think he's upset because he got his butt kicked by a bunch of Secret Service agents or whoever they were. So here's a couple of things.
7172 says the right to lisp. I'm sorry. It's very childish, and I think that was funny.
Well, here's the thing. You know, if you were a cook or a farmer or whatever, and they did that, they might have been arrested. They might have been charged. You, Senator Padilla, are a senator, and you got away with it. And to be perfectly clear, I have no idea what the charge would be. But again, listen, he did what he did. And as usual, the Democrats get themselves all wrapped up in knots. This is Elizabeth Warren.
When Senator Padilla gets pushed, shoved, thrown to the handcuffed because he is asking questions, because he is engaging in the very oversight that senators are supposed to engage in, then what we're really talking about here is a Trump administration that just wants to shut down the ordinary functions of government. Look, I do a lot of oversight myself. I ask a lot of questions because that's how it works in a democracy. We use our words to hold people accountable. We don't use our fists. We don't shove. We don't try to knock people down. We use our words.
Do you smoke signals? Every time she goes down that kind of a road, I'm gonna use the same tired joke about smoke signals from Pocahontas.
That's what oversight is all about, and that's what I want to go to the floor.
So the word on the street is, on social media, is, believe it or not, this is actually the new plan by the Democrats to get arrested.
Oh, yeah.
This is what they're trying to do. This was, by the way, go ahead, John.
It was the same thing as Governor Newsom saying, come on, arrest me, Tom Homan.
Yep.
I mean, that's their
Karen
thing.
Bass did that too.
Yeah.
So the mayor, and so this was Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor.
Without objection. Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
There you go, Chuck Schumer. You know, typically he doesn't get all that excited. So made him sick, not to his nose, not to his head, Joan, but to his stomach.
To his stomach.
Thank you, Chuck.
Because that's where you get sick.
Well, it's probably the hamburgers he was trying to cook.
Because they were raw.
Because they were raw, right?
With cheese on them.
With cheese on them, raw, which is not when you're supposed to put the cheese on the hamburger, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, so I thought that whole thing, and so this is now the Democrat. They believe that somehow it is a winning policy to try to, and a winning narrative to now try to get arrested by acting the fools, which is exactly what Alex Padilla
Do you understand what it was they were saying that he didn't have a senator pin on? Do you understand what that's about? Is there a pin that senators wear that would automatically identify them? Or I find it weird that Secret Service would have to look for a pin before they take somebody down.
You know what? Let's Google real quick. Matthew Hurt is going to be joining us at 6:30.
There we can ask him.
He's going to know. But do senators have to wear an identifying PIN? Let's see. Traditional. Yeah, I guess there is. There's official lapel pins that they're supposed to wear, apparently, for identification.
Interesting.
Yeah. Is that like a get out of handcuffs free card, the little pin there?
Perhaps. It's just, like I said, I mean, if you're Secret Service and you see a guy rushing toward the podium where Immigration Barbie was, you would have to get in front of him to be able to see whether or not he's got a pin on.
He's lucky. He's lucky he didn't get an arm broken.
Clearly,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's resisting in the handcuffs.
Yes,
and you can hear that he's resisting.
It's such an act of desperation.
Well, they are so lost. They are so absolutely lost. Hey, that's a great idea. Let's go out and get arrested.
Yeah.
Because that Donald Trump, he's a king. He thinks he's a king. All right, it's 5:54. Joan Jones has the news at 6. Joan.
Yeah, so coming up here at 6 o'clock, those attacks on Iran, it's having an effect on the worldwide financial markets. We'll tell you what's happening there. Also, remember that ICE facility in New Jersey where the dust-up happened with the hefty woman?
Yes.
Something else happened there overnight. Want to tell you about that coming up, too, here at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, it is Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But let's also not forget what today is.
Getting to know you.
It is Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day here in Nashville. And so coming up in the next hour, we will remind you who the Democrats will be celebrating today here in Music City. It is all straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 3 Iranian regime leaders and 6 nuclear scientists are all dead after Israel hit Iran with airstrikes overnight, targeting Iran's nuclear program. Now, the IDF called this Operation Rising Lion, and Israel says the decision to launch those strikes was made at the last possible minute after all other avenues had been exhausted. President Trump says he knew about those strikes, but that the U.S. did not have any role in the attacks. In New Jersey, 4 illegal immigrants who were being detained at an ICE facility are missing, and they are presumed escaped. They were able to slip out after a riot broke out there and where detainees took control of parts of this facility. Now, this happened at the Delaney Hall Detention Facility. That is the very same place where the Newark City mayor and 2 Democrat congresswomen staged a confrontation with ICE agents last month. Staying in New Jersey, there's some progress to report with the issues that plagued Newark Liberty Airport. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says one of the runways that was under construction has now finished ahead of schedule.
We also had an issue with how our software program had a glitch in it. So that software at the Philly TradeCon was remedied, was fixed, and things have been operating relatively smoothly at Newark.
Now, work is still underway on a fiber optic line and computer software that were the source of the ATC outages earlier this year. Protesters are gathering this morning at the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville as Kilmar Abrego Garcia is expected to arrive and face prosecutors. He'll be formally arraigned on human trafficking charges. Those lawyers will also battle it out over whether Abrego Garcia should stay behind bars until his trial. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. The attacks in Iran are rattling financial markets around the world. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
Investors are running for financial safe havens in the face of the Israeli airstrikes on Iran and Tehran's promise to retaliate. Concerns about an escalating conflict are also driving up the price of crude oil, which was trading about 7% higher overnight at around $73 per barrel. That could drive up gas prices a dime a gallon over the next week.
Now, U.S. stock futures were down overnight, and the dollar was trading higher against foreign currencies. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather just ahead here. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Wow, still pretty quiet this morning on the roads. 24 looks pretty good until you get to the merge with 40. 65 is looking good this morning. No problems to speak of on 40 heading into Nashville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day across Middle Tennessee. Of course, if you are a Democrat, you are so excited to go out and throw your support for Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Getting to know you.
So let's just remind Middle Tennessee who it is that the two Justins and Gloria Johnson and all the Democrats are going to be throwing their love and support behind today. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is a guy, human trafficking related charges. He faces a plethora of human trafficking related charges. This is a guy who has been called a gang member. We also know that when he was trafficking guys for the last decade, they say that some of these guys that he trafficked did really, really bad things. You know, illegal aliens. He was caught right here in Tennessee. And also, let's not forget, as we remind you who Kilmar Abrego Garcia is, let's also not forget that his wife has actually accused him of some really, really reprehensible things.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports. And I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20, 30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. Wow. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
That is, of course, the wife of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Chilling audio. And that was back in 2020 when she was in front of a judge and asking for a protective order against her loving husband, Maryland man. But the point where she describes the man she calls a wonderful husband and father is actually a wife beater who was so callous that he beat her up. He beat her up on her daughter's birthday. Now, all of this is horrific. And this is the man, this is the, air quoting, Maryland man that Democrats are celebrating today on this Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day across Middle Tennessee. And this is a guy who has done a lot of really bad things.
I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises. He hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. Before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times because he hit me in front of my sister.
All right, so I don't know. I almost feel like I should thank the Democrats for dubbing today Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day, because as you know, today they're having a big rally or whatever you want to call it in Nashville today, as Kilmar is supposed to be arraigned today. Now, here's the thing. New York Post also reported on the very twisted, it sounds like the very twisted marriage of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where she told the judge, New York Post, apparently his wife told the judge that he actually bragged that he could kill her and get away with it. We played the audio for you of the traffic stop where Tennessee Highway Patrol pulled him over with those 8 guys in the back of that car. Remember that? He was pulled over here in Tennessee, and it was obvious that he was trafficking a bunch of guys. He pretended not to speak English. Remember, this is all review. He pretended not to speak English. His license was expired. His driving was erratic. And by the way, the vehicle that he was driving was a vehicle that was registered to literally a human trafficker, a convicted human trafficker. And yet, as you now know, at the time, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, they did not arrest him because they consulted with the Biden FBI, who said, nah, don't worry about it. This was the discussion between law enforcement on the side of the road during that now infamous traffic stop.
You know what you got here, right? No. He's hauling these people for money. You got an ass hauler is what he's doing, but sometimes they commingle dope.
Yeah, and so that's what the guy said. This guy is hauling a bunch of illegals. He is human trafficking. So they knew what they had, at least the one guy did.
8 people in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra row of seats in there.
Yeah. So he's getting paid to haul these people, probably to Maryland, I would say, if I had my guess.
He said they all work together, is what he's telling me, but he's the only one that knows English.
So let me ask you this. They don't have any luggage in there, right? And if you get them out, they're going to have a tube of toothpaste, and they're going to have toothbrushes in their pockets, I guarantee it.
And that's it. 8 people, no luggage, nobody speaks English. Maybe some toothpaste and some toothbrushes. The Tennessee Star, they're the ones that got the audio through an open records request. That was out in Cookeville, by the way. Also from the Tennessee Star, back at the time this was all a big story, still is. During another period when the officers were consulting, one claimed, if he gets arrested, you're not going to have any choice but to just dump all these guys on the side of the road on the interstate. It is unclear why the officers did not raise the possibility of contacting the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, which has previously worked. And so, I mean, bottom line is, I think we all now know the story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the fact that he is, of course, human trafficking related charges, which he's going to be arraigned today. He's a gang member, wife beater, and again, they say that he trafficked guys that were really, really, really bad hombres. And so, you know, for me,
Getting to know you.
just a reminder for, you know, all of Middle Tennessee who might be listening, who it is that the Democrats are very excitedly going to be going out and supporting today, as they have deemed the today Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day. Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, Gloria Johnson, and all of the folks on the left here in Middle Tennessee throwing their support behind a guy who is a human trafficker, gang member, and a wife beater as well. It is 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, allegedly. It is 6:15 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is time to check the roads. $6:15 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather goes, by the way, the Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. As far as your weather for today, a high of 86, mix of clouds and sun, possible rain as well. Now, I've got rain, and Joan Jones and I were talking about this earlier. You know, Joan, we do have the big pro-Kilmar rally later on today, and I show rain starting around 8 o'clock, but you show it starting
around
a little bit
12.
later on, about 12. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens. Is it wrong to pray for rain?
No, I mean, it's been done throughout the ages, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
But here's the deal. Actually, in retrospect, I don't want it to rain. I want the entire state of Tennessee and the entire nation to see that they are throwing their support behind Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And this is a guy who is accused of all of these reprehensible things. And so I love that they're going out and they're doing this, which is why I had that segment that I just did, reminding people here who exactly it is that they are out there supporting. So, we'll see how it all plays out. I'm going to go out there today. Murphy Show is going to be out there today as well. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how long I'm going to be out there because I've been up since like midnight and I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But I am going to be out there, kind of check out and see what's going on. And I am looking forward to that. All right.
Well, all you have to do is interview everybody that you see that has purple or red or green hair.
How about face bolts?
Face bolts, yeah.
Face bolts are always good.
That means you'll be out there all day, though, because there's going to be a lot of them.
Yeah. Do you know what the thing is? Like, I am going to try to get some audio, and I'm thinking about whether or not I should actually start asking them why it is that they're supporting someone whose wife has filed court paperwork alleging that he beat her multiple times.
Yeah, so...
Like, should I do that?
Have you seen Johnny on, I guess he's Jesse Waters' guy that goes out there and does man on the street stuff?
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of like that I want to see. I want to see him, like, I would love to see you or Matt go out there and ask people, like, straight up questions and hear... They're not going to have an answer, Either that or they're going to punch you.
Well... Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
You know what? My face, it might be an improvement. So but here's the thing is that if they're going to say, well, he needs due process. Well, he's back and he's getting due process.
Yes.
So now what?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get hit. That's the thing. I don't want to get punched. I don't want to get beat. That's why I'm Ubering down there because I don't want them to burn my car. It's finally paid off. I don't want to get my car burned.
Yeah.
All right. It is 6:17, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Of course, I opened the radio program and had a lot of conversation in the first hour about what is going on with Iran and Israel. Of course, as you no doubt know, waking up this morning, you cannot miss it. Israel, almost as predicted, they attacked Iran last night, killed, 6 scientists, nuclear scientists, and some military leaders as well, including the military leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I absolutely love that. And Iran then tried to bombard Israel with about 100 drones, and Israel very easily shot them down. Part of what happens with Israel and Iran is that Israel has a choice to make. They attack. But then Iran, they have a choice to make as well. How hard do they come back? How much do they really try to engage in a war with Israel? Because there's some things that they do, and I've interviewed people that have said this. There's some things that Iran will do where it's like, all right, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to send things over there that we know that you're going to be able to shoot down, but we've got to show some sort of a response. But it is not in Iran's best interest to try and enter into an all-out war with Israel because they will lose. I mean, Iran will absolutely lose. Israel, and by the way, this tells you that Israel, they are really the ones that have been restrained, which is perhaps an odd thing to say on the morning after Israel bombs the living crap out of Iran. But Israel, if they wanted to destroy Iran, they could, but they don't. So these strikes were very, what's the right word? They were targeted. They were targeted attacks on their nuclear facilities and the people that take part in their nuclear ambitions. And so now Iran, they're going to have to decide what exactly it is that they do. But for Ted Cruz, who was on with, I think it was Sean Hannity last night, he had a lot to say about this. And I like what Cruz had to say, which is, you know what? Iran deserved it.
The Ayatollah made the decision. We are going to plunge head first towards getting a nuclear weapon. And basically, Iran gave the middle finger to President Trump. And Iran told Israel, you better strike us now, because if you don't do it soon, we will have a nuclear weapon. And when we have a nuclear weapon, this is a theocratic zealot who chants death to America and death to Israel. And they are building a nuclear weapon because they intend to be able to detonate a nuclear weapon in the skies of Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And so Israel is acting to defend themselves.
Well, in my opinion, Israel is. Now, a lot of people will say, well, how are they defending themselves if there wasn't a nuclear bomb headed their way? Well, because Iran, they have said many, 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 many times, not only death to America, but obviously death to Israel as well. And they were well on their way to a nuclear weapon. They were slow walking, as I've been talking about. They were slow walking the negotiations with Donald Trump. And so finally, and Trump says that he knew of the attack, but he was not part of this attack. But I think Trump has been frustrated with the fact that Iran has been slow walking these negotiations, where he was trying to negotiate with Iran to get them to stop their nuclear ambitions. And Ted Cruz is spot on with
Joe
this.
Biden didn't just turn a blind eye. He refused to enforce the sanctions against Iran, and he flowed over $100 billion to the Ayatollah. He made them rich in cash. And understand, Iran provides 90% of the funding for Hamas and 90% of the funding for Hezbollah. In a very real sense, Joe Biden and the Democrats funded the October 7th massacre. The death squads that murdered over 1,200 Israelis on October 7th were paid for by the money Joe Biden allowed to go to the Ayatollah.
I mean, it is true. And so now the big question is, what will Iran do next? By the way, President Trump, we've been reporting this since he posted it. Trump saying, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it as related to these negotiations with the United States, because Trump has said, if you want a strong economy, if you want, worldwide respect, if you want a legit seat at the table, then come to an agreement with me and we'll enter into a deal where you folks make Iran, you make all kinds of money. And the rest of the world is safe from your nuclear ambitions. And I've been, by the way, as you know, against negotiating with the terrorists, but Trump obviously disagreed. And so Trump basically saying that Iran has been talking tough, and those leaders that have been talking tough, well, the president says they're now dead. It is 6:23. Joan has the news at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, we've got more this morning about the protest that'll be staged outside the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville in just a little while. And also in Gallatin, they're looking for a missing girl with a medical condition. Those stories coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.623 on Nashville's Morning News. Listen, if you are maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high interest debt, you could pay it all off in days with my friends at Loan Pronto and their Rapid Equity Loan. Now, you can get cash out right now without touching your low-rated first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting as well, and no BS. Now, the Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto, it is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. Now, they paid off all of their debt, they renovated their kitchen, and they cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That is a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, you get instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Now, your home equity, listen, it is yours, and so you have every right to use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call them right now to get started. 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. Find them online anytime. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. LoanPronto.com, equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Dan Mandis here, 626 on Nashville's Morning News. Listen, got a great new deal for you, my friends at the Glock store. I'm not a gun expert, but I do know that Glocks, they're the highest quality handgun available at their price level. Now, you can buy a cheaper handgun, but you can't buy a better one for the same money. Still, the average Glock is around $600, and $600 is $600. But if you've always wanted a Glock, but the price was just a bit out of your reach, Glock Store, they've got you covered, because Glock Store is now a factory rebuilt Glock dealer. Now, that means that these rebuilt Glocks are available to you. Now, a rebuilt Glock, it might be a retail display gun that maybe got a little scratch. It might be a brand new Glock with a little blemish on the finish. But the bottom line is there's a lot of reasons a Glock might go back to the factory to be rebuilt. But that doesn't mean that it's not an outstanding gun. They always come back perfect. Now, Glock factory rebuilds carry the full factory warranty, but they can cost up to $100 less than the original retail price. And $100 is $100. To find out what's currently available, go to my friends at the Glock store online at glockstore.com. That is glockstore.com. Type in factory rebuilt in the search bar. Now, if you can't tell the difference, why pay the difference? The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. .629, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Our grassroots political analyst, Matthew Hurt, is coming up next. We're going to talk about the topic that makes Chuck Schumer just so sick to his stomach. That story for you and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. So far, no sign of the protesters at the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville, but they are expected to show up in support of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who'll be formally arraigned on human trafficking charges today. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac on the effort to keep him behind bars until his trial.
His defenders say the government cannot prove he's a danger or a flight risk. Outside the courthouse, members of Indivisible Tennessee will be gathering this morning. They tell me they are protesting because what's happening is not just about one man, it's about human rights.
Metro Police will be there. They say peaceful protests are okay, but violence won't be tolerated. In Gallatin, police are searching for a missing 15-year-old girl with a medical condition. Now, we only know her first name. It's Azaria, and police say she has type 1 diabetes and uses an insulin pump. She was last seen Tuesday walking with a friend near Walnut Crest Drive carrying a black and white backpack. And pharmaceutical giant CVS is being investigated by Louisiana's Attorney General over improperly using customers' personal information to send out text messages, lobbying against a proposed state law. That law would have prohibited companies from owning both pharmacy benefit managers and drugstores. CVS's text included a link for its customers to access a draft letter to send to their legislators. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Take a Jones, 632, Nashville's Morning News on WTN for a Friday. DT McCall's, a great Tennessee company. They are here for their fellow Tennesseans with great prices, great selection, outstanding value. I've been telling you for years about the greatness of DT McCall's. I am a customer. They've been helping people out for 3 generations here in Nashville. That's over 100 years. Now, if you need it, they've got it at DT McCall's. Indoor furniture. If you've got a room that you need to fill, go to DT McCall's. Of course, you know all about their lawn mowers and outdoor lawn equipment, appliances. If it plugs in, they've got it. And they've always got specials going on to save you money right there on their website, dtmccalls.com. You're going to see specials on all the best brands of appliances. You need a washer and dryer, you need a refrigerator, you need a dishwasher. Check out dtmccalls.com or go to a store in person. Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Again, always online, dtmccalls.com. Dan Mandis here, 633. And listen, Clayton Homes, they are in the middle of a great sale, a great opportunity for you. They're in the middle of a big home sales event. Clayton Homes, that is going on right now. You can save up to $5,000 instantly on your home purchase at Clayton Homes Sign and Save Sales Event. Now, you can also save up to $2,500 on a single-section home or $5,000 on a multi-section home. Now, Clayton Homes, they are changing the way homes are built here in Tennessee. These are affordable homes and cost less to live in. Just in time for summer, by the way, get a home equipped with Energy Smart features for year-round comfort and a lifetime of savings. Clayton Homes features luxury, quality, and the style you deserve. Now, don't forget the great deal going on right now with Clayton Homes. Save $5,000 on your next home purchase with Clayton Homes and their Sign and Save sales event. You can also save $2,500 on a single section or $5,000 on a multi-section home. Visit the local Clayton Homes office near you or browse their limited time deals at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. That's manufacturedhomeoffers.com. Terms and conditions for the Sign and Save sales event at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. Available only at participating Clayton Homes family of brands retailers through August 31st. Amount of savings may be limited. Ask for details. May not be available with certain financing. Lender restrictions apply.
Okay, the delays are starting to kick in now on 24, the westbound side, around the Laverne area and all the way into Nashville. You've got some delays as well on 65 and 24 after they merge. 40 is looking good. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
636, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. I want to welcome on into the program our grassroots political analyst, Matthew Hurt. Matthew, always great to have you on. Really slow news day today, Matthew. I don't know what in the world we're going to talk about.
Well, I'm so glad that the super text line is back up today, Dan. It's been a wild week for you.
It has been, and yesterday they cut me off of the super text line about halfway into the show. We were finally able to get back. I missed it. Anyway, so Matthew, let's talk about Israel first. And so I do find this interesting, and I love everything related to foreign policy. So you've got Israel attacking Iran and trying to weaken Iran to get Iran back to the negotiating table with Donald Trump, who says that he had nothing to do with it, but does support Israel and their ability to defend itself. So I don't know. You give me your first blush on all things going on this morning with Israel and Iran and Donald Trump.
Well, Dan, as a small L libertarian, I am concerned about any incursion into another country. The broader question is Iran funding threats to Israel? It is evident that is correct, that yes, that is happening. Israel has an opportunity and the skills to engage in these surgical strikes. I've been watching all morning. They are eliminating top military and nuclear targets. This is something that the American CIA could only dream about being able to do when toppling a foreign government. And so I hope whatever happens, and I am fairly confident that while President Trump may have known this was coming, he's obviously not involved in this, that there is a move toward peace in the Middle East. There are millions of Iranians who've lived in subjugation under an authoritarian, autocratic, theocratic regime for 50 years, and those individuals deserve freedom. Every human deserves human dignity and freedom and opportunity in their own country, and so whatever comes next, I certainly hope the people of Iran and the people of the Persian diaspora all over the world, Iranians who have fled their homes, are able to see an Iran that is free and that helps its people achieve their human potential.
You know, one of the worries with all of this, and I was reading a lot online because there are conservatives that I respect on all sides of this. So if Iran, if they end up sticking to their promise and fulfilling that promise of going after and attacking American interests and our bases in the region, and some of our men and women in uniform, Lord help them if they are killed, if any Americans end up losing their lives because of these Iranian strikes, if they end up striking us. Could that pull us? Well, could that pull us into a broader battle with Iran? And then we've got we got some people that are going to say, oh, we're going to be pulled into a forever war. You've got other people that are going to be called war hawks because you support defending American life in the Middle East. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a difference in military adventurism, where American troops are dropped into countries we don't need to be in, and defending American interests. There's sort of the Lindsey Graham strain of foreign policy, which is bomb everybody all the time, and then there is a reserved, realistic foreign policy. I think that protecting American troops and American interests is important, but I also think that President Trump ran on, in part, not getting us into forever wars and foreign entanglements. That's exactly why he has people like Pete Hegseth at Department of Defense and other places. And so I'm concerned about the potential to drag us into prolonged conflict in the Middle East. The special interest groups in Washington, D.C. on the talk show stations in this market have been for months talking about Israel going to war with Iran to gin up support. And so I'm just concerned that this will drag us into something that we don't want to be in, that the American people don't have the patience or the interest in, but there is an opportunity for Israel to address some of the long simmering disputes and things like Iran's nuclear program and their funding of terrorist threats in the region.
Yeah, I mean, they still have some of that Biden money left over, I'm sure. So that is also part of the conversation regarding the still implemented sanctions on Iran that Biden decided to ignore. And one of the interesting things about this conversation is that if the U.S. ultimately ends up having to get involved, which I hope that we don't, but we need to make it quick. We need to make it quick and fast as opposed to having this long, drawn-out thing, because it's my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've interviewed people that have said the same thing, which is that if Israel and America, but if we wanted to annihilate any possible military response from Iran, we could do it. And so I think that if we're going to respond, or if Israel is going to respond, they just need to go in hard and heavy and take care of all that very quickly so that it is just done. And then we can all move on.
That appears to be what's happening. And Iran launched, I think, 100 drones a few hours ago, and not a single drone made it to their intended destination. And I think, again, what we've seen is an IDF and a Mossad that is these strikes are surgical. And this is the kind of response, if we're looking for one in the Middle East, that achieves its objectives, I hope.
Locally, Matthew Hurt joining us. Locally, of course, it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day. On the left, they are going to be out, I guess this is in front of whatever it is, City Hall or whatever, and they're going to be protesting the fact that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is being arraigned today. And so I've spent some time on the program this morning reminding Middle Tennessee who it is that the Democrats are trying to, and are locally and across the country, wrapping their arms around. A guy who has been brought up on human trafficking related charges. Dude is a gang member. His wife, his own wife, has all of these police reports saying that he is a wife beater. They say the guys that he trafficked for years and years were really bad hombres, and the feds also say that he had a hand in the murder of a fellow gang member. All these, of course, alleged. So I don't know, your thoughts on the Democrats once again continuing with this Maryland narrative?
Well, this is actually a broader wave of protests this weekend, anti-ICE protests that what you're going to see in Nashville, anti-Flag Day protests. I'm under alert in my office this weekend because there are protests which are likely to become violent just across the street from me. They were protesting outside Heritage last week. And so this is part of a nationwide network of paid agitators who are getting others swept up. And the issues may not be the same at every protest. You've got the immigration issue in Nashville, particularly with Garcia being held there. We've got a lovely Flag Day parade tomorrow through Washington, D.C. The local news here is focused on the protests, which will likely descend into destruction of property and rioting. And so this is a nationwide network. I think there are a couple of dozen or so events. But a lot of these organizations, particularly in California, are being funded by taxpayers. One of the organizations on the ground in California that engages in these immigration protests receives $74 million from California taxpayers. So these are taxpayer-funded protests by paid and professional agitators, and that is something your listeners should be aware of. This is something that the American people do not have the patience for, and we're seeing over the last week this is just not especially popular with the American people.
Okay, we're going to, Matthew Hurt is joining us. Matthew, coming up, we're going to talk about the issue that has given Chuck Schumer some tummy troubles. We'll talk about that straight ahead. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, today a high of 86, mixed clouds and sun, scattered and possible rain and storms today. As far as your weekend goes, rain on Saturday, a high of 83, Sunday, possible storms, and a high of 84. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk.
Without objection. Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
There you go, Chuck Schumer. Having tummy troubles. It's not those raw hamburgers that he was cooking. It was what happened with this Senator Alex Padilla. So I'm sure that you've seen the video, Matthew Hurt. Now, it seems like the Democrats are trying to say that he innocently wanted to politely raise his hand and ask some questions, when in reality, if you've seen the video, he was rushing Kristi Noem at the podium and screaming about how he had questions, but in reality, it sounded like he was making statements.
I mean, this is exactly the same thing that we just talked about, Dan. Senator Padilla knew what was going to happen. He is an agitator and a protester who comes up from left-wing organizing and activism. The issue that they're upset about, and everyone could send Senator Schumer a bottle of Pepto, is that he made this, he created this incident, and he did so to make the news. And so any of these instances where the left is showing up and showing out, as they say, are instances where they want this kind of coverage. He went into this event knowing this was going to happen. The response, I think, was justified in minimizing a threat. There's no telling what he was going to do if he had approached the podium successfully. And those law enforcement agents were doing their jobs in defending Secretary Noem. But the premise here is that Senator Padilla knew 100% what was going to happen when he went into that room. He planned that, and they reacted in a way to defend and secure the space. And now he is playing the victim, and Senator Schumer is trumpeting that on the Senate floor.
Well, I mean, I played some audio earlier of Elizabeth Warren, and she seemed close to tears. You've got all the Democrats in the House and the Senate that are screaming bloody murder on this, but I'm actually seeing where people on X are posting that there have been meetings within the Democrat Party where they are literally trying to get arrested so that they can prove that Donald Trump believes that he's a king. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, so professional protesters on the left, they come in three kinds. There's red, orange, and green when they're on the ground at a protest or a riot. And the ones who are the reds are the ones who are willing to get arrested. Frequently, if you see large public action, they will have attorneys in the crowd who are immediately ready to process legal documents. But yes, this is something that we always see. Leftists are willing to get arrested. Our friends on the right who protest the Tea Party or an America First or MAGA rally, rarely people willing to get arrested. But the left has a level of activism that includes individuals who are willing to get arrested to then go through the system and make hay over their arrest. This is, again, this is certainly predictable, and it's something that we're going to see through the weekend.
Do you think that will resonate with the American people?
No.
Okay. It's so stupid, man. Like, it is just so stupid. I don't know. So they can't win on the issues. So let's purposely get arrested. I mean, they're just not very smart.
The American people, post Summer of Love 2020, most Americans realize a lot of this stuff. I mean, there's a video from New York City of these two condescending white protesters or rioters who are keeping a black woman from being able to get to her job, and she gets out of the car and she says, "Please, I'm just trying to go to work," and they scoff at her. This is the kind of people are tired of this kind of thing, and luckily we have outlets like yours and social media platforms that are exposing these individuals, and the patience for this kind of activity and behavior is really wearing thin.
So has it been fun to watch the left as they hyperventilate over, today we're talking about the Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day. Literally on the flyer for the rally today, they have a big old picture of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So they are making it about him. I mean, these organizations have a photo of him. So I'm sure that they're going to try and, sort of branch out and make it about, ICE and immigration and all these other things. But when you put the dude on your actual flyer, they are making it about him. Have you enjoyed watching the left, though, hyperventilate over what's going on tomorrow in Washington, D.C. with this military parade that also, by the way, happens to fall on Donald Trump's birthday? So now they're saying, oh, he thinks that he's a king.
Well, in Arlington, ICE is actually deploying a special response team, one of 5 locations across the country. My entire elected county board, or city council, as you might say in Nashville, Davidson County, they're left-wing activists. All 5 of them are left-wing activists. We're going to see a number of protests in Arlington and across the river in D.C. I'm deciding where I want to be. Everything is going to be, there's plenty of viral content that will be produced tomorrow, and I'm going to be somewhere on the ground trying to get video and trying to see what's going on the ground so I can talk with you about it maybe next week. And it's outrageous. And we're in D.C. now, so it's a summer of tourism. So you get a lot of high school groups and a lot of families who come through. A lot of folks will be swept into this through the weekend. I would not drive if I were in D.C. I would be very careful of your surroundings. It's probably going to be wild.
All right, can we talk Monday?
We can talk Monday.
All right, very good. Matthew Hurt, how can people find you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MattheHewHurtt.
All right, we'll talk Monday, and stay safe this weekend. It is 6:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones has the news at 7. Joan.
Yeah, we have a little information here about how Israel pulled off those attacks on Iran planned for years in advance. And Tennessee lawmakers weigh in on tomorrow's so-called No Kings protest in downtown Nashville. Got those stories coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.653 Nashville's Morning News. Dan here. How do I depend on Xfinity? Let me count the ways. Now, I've got a lot riding on my rock-solid internet from Xfinity. I've been a customer of Xfinity for years, even before I started representing them on WTN. For example, 11-year-old Riker, he's got homework, he's got gaming. Amy, of course, working all day long from home. And yours truly, always prepping, always doing shows literally around the clock from my basement as well. All of that powered by Xfinity. And by the way, if something does go wrong, they can make it right with 24/7 customer service for whenever you need it. And, with Riker in the house, again, he's 11, it is critical that we're able to check out exactly what he's watching. And with Xfinity, you can. You can depend on these folks. So check them out today online anytime at Xfinity.com. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 1-800-XFINITY. Stop by a store today. At 6:56, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. Listen, friends, if you own a European car, if you own a BMW, an Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, any other European car, highfalutin or otherwise, you've got to get it serviced and repaired at Renstall. Now, Renstall offers the best technicians, the latest and greatest diagnostic equipment, and yes, they are dedicated to customer service. This is dealer-level service, but family-level care and honest pricing. Not a corporate mindset, just a family-run business helping out their friends and neighbors and a love of these European cars. They're going to deliver honesty, respect, and exceptional service. They're locally owned and operated and exclusively work on all European cars. Now, I've been telling you, one of the things that I really like about Renstall is they proudly offer the Hero Service discount. Veterans, active duty military, first responders, and emergency medical personnel all get a 10% discount on all repairs. So check them out. They are taking appointments right now. They do have openings. 615-777-7100. 615-777-7100. Conveniently located in Nashville, across the street from the Academy of Country Music, 5 minutes from Music Row, 2 minutes from downtown. Love the website, itrustmymechanic.com. For Renstall, itrustmymechanic.com. I'm sorry, 6:58. Hey,
Hello,
Joan.
are you there?
Hello. You know what? I'm entertaining myself in here.
Is that right?
Because, yeah, there is a social media post, I don't know, Culture War Report. I'm going to go ahead and repost this. It is really, really funny. I'm reposting. You ready? I need some audio if I could. You know what that is, Joan? That is dozens of influencers. I'm putting that in air quotes.
Yeah.
Influencers, all going by the same script regarding illegal immigration. You know how this works, right?
I do. It's so weird.
They're all saying being undocumented in the U.S. is not a crime. It's a civil violation, just like jaywalking or unpaid parking ticket. People cannot be illegal on stolen land. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my
blah,
gosh.
blah.
On stolen land, they're still on that?
They're still on that, Joan. Still on that. Anyway, so we'll, I reposted that. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show. News with Joan Jones begins right now on WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock. Make that 7 o'clock. Wow, time flies. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got a problem out at the airport this morning, but this is in the westbound lanes of 40. You've got an accident at Donaldson Pike that's taking out 2 left lanes, and that'll cause some big delays out at the airport this morning. Since last evening, Israel and Iran have been trading attacks. Israel bombing Iran's nuclear program and facilities, and Iran responding with drone attacks. ABC's Louis Martinez Martinez, covering the Pentagon, says that Israel was concerned that Iran was closing in on having the capability to create a nuclear weapon.
Israel felt that the turnaround time was so short now that in a matter of days they could create nuclear weapons and use that enriched uranium just for that purpose. So what we have seen are dozens of airstrikes across Iran, and not just against facilities, but also targeting senior Iranian leaders.
The State Department saying the U.S. did not provide any assistance or have any involvement in the Israeli strike. Metro Nashville police will be out in full force at the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville today, and that's where Kilmar Abrego Garcia is being arraigned on human trafficking and conspiracy charges. U.S. Magistrate Judge Sarah Holmes will also hear arguments today over whether Abrego Garcia should be detained as he awaits trial. Now, Politico reports that even if she decides against keeping him behind bars, Abrego Garcia would likely be put in immigration custody, so he wouldn't be free anyway. Abrego Garcia currently faces 2 federal felony charges for transporting undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants and conspiring with others to do so. Tomorrow will be another day of protesting in Nashville, but this will be the so-called No Kings protest. It'll mirror those taking place around the country, just as President Trump puts on a huge military parade to celebrate the U.S. Army. State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson tells WTN's Matt Murphy peaceful protests are welcome, but rioters will be arrested and prosecuted.
Our incredible folks at the Department of Homeland Security, Tennessee Department of Safety, Highway Patrol, TBI, they are obviously monitoring all of that. I'm sure the Metro Police are doing the same.
Now, Metro Police say they've set up mobile surveillance cameras at Bicentennial Park, where that protest is scheduled for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
U.S. stock futures are down and the dollar is higher as investors run for safety in the face of the Israeli airstrikes on Iran and Tehran's promise to retaliate. European stocks likewise were selling off overnight. Despite the volatility in the stock market, retirees did better last month when the average Social Security payment reached $2,002.39. It was the first time in history that the monthly average has exceeded $2,000. On this Friday the 13th, Krispy Kreme customers who buy a dozen donuts of any type can get another dozen original glazed for 13 cents. Tomorrow the chain rolls out 2 Father's Day themed donuts. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Now, Dow futures are minus 413 right now. NASDAQ futures down 244, and the S&P futures are falling 53 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. It's still a problem this morning out at BNA, the 40 westbound side at Donaldson Pike, an accident that blocks off 2 left lanes, and traffic is stop and go leading up to it. Cedar Hill on 24 eastbound side at Maxey Road. There is an accident reported at mile marker 14. South Inglewood, McGavick Pike at Riverside Drive. There's a crash and there are some injuries, so a lot of equipment out there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. All the latest on Israel and its attack on Iran straight ahead. There has been a lot of updates, and we're keeping you updated as the morning continues to unfold. A couple of things real quick. Listen to us on any app you want. You've got the iHeartRadio app. You've got the WTN or the TuneIn app as well. You can find all those links at the website, 997WTN.com. You can also watch us on X. You can watch us on 997WTN.com. You can also watch us on YouTube. Now, today, this morning, we have a great question right now, the Daily Dan poll. Do you agree with President Trump's plans to protect illegal alien farm workers? Now, this is with all of the stories that are going on today. Any other day, this might be one of my top stories. But now it is simply the Daily Dan poll because we do have a lot of other things going on. But if you're wondering what's going on, this happened yesterday during a Donald Trump press conference. Listen.
Peter.
Thank you, President Trump. I have two. First, on immigration. What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure, too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
All right, so a lot of people on the socials, a lot of good conservatives freaking out about that because it's their position that the president should be getting rid of all illegal aliens, regardless as to whether or not they're working in a farm, or I should say on a farm, in leisure, and so forth. So that is the Daily Dan poll. Do you agree with President Trump's executive order protecting illegal alien farm workers? Only 39% of you said yes. 61% of you said no. So the majority of people who have taken the poll on YouTube voicing their displeasure at the fact that the Trump administration, it would appear, are going to begin to protecting some of these farm workers that are working on these farms, but they may not be legal. I mean, they've got visas for this. So I'm not entirely certain, if they've got a visa, then that's fine. They've got a work visa, and here they are. One of the things I've always said, and then I'm going to move on because I've got a lot to cover today. One of the things that I've always said, though, is that we have to fix the legal immigration system. If somebody wants to become a legal immigrant citizen it is next to impossible. And that does, I mean, years in the making, years in the process. So that has to be fixed. It does have to be fixed. We also have to come up with a system where we have people that are here on visas and they don't overstay their visas, because that is a big problem. And we've talked about this a lot on the radio program, where people, they come in here on a student visa, a work visa, whatever, and they stay. And then some of these folks just stay for years on a, visa, and then they're here illegally, and you never hear from them again. Others end up doing really bad things on expired visas. So there's a lot that needs to be fixed within the immigration system. But go take the Daily Dan poll, because I think it's a good one today. And again, do you agree with President Trump's executive order protecting illegal alien farm workers? It is 7:11 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And as you no doubt, as you have woken up this morning, you're turning on the radio. I think we pretty much predicted this yesterday with the Israel bombing the living crap out of Iran. This happened last night. And Donald Trump is out there saying that, no, he had nothing to do with this, but he does support it. It's really interesting the way this whole thing is playing out. So I want to play you some of the relevant audio that is going on with the attack last night, Israel against Iran. You have Iran now. They have lost a lot of generals. They've lost a lot of scientists as well, nuclear scientists. This was Benjamin Netanyahu last night.
Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed never again. Well, never again is now.
And that's what he says. And that was the justification for what he did. By the way, CNN reporting that the president has told CNN the Israeli strikes on Iran were very successful. And by all accounts, they were. I mean, they have obliterated, they have decimated Iran's nuclear ambitions. And so part of this discussion has to be the fact that while Donald Trump, he did not take part, the United States did not take part in this, the president does support it. And he does, again, say that these strikes have been very successful. And by the way, this is part of a wave. This is just the first wave. There's going to be a lot more attacks to come. Again, Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu laying out that justification for these bombings. We did know that it was coming yesterday, and it did.
The Israeli Air Force is currently striking Iranian nuclear facilities and long-range missile capabilities. This is a significant strike that is expected to take place in a series of waves. According to an IDF official, the opening wave targeted more than a dozen different sites in Iran. Explosions were reported around the capital of Tehran, and as we speak, a state of emergency has been declared across Israel as the Israelis are bracing for possible Iranian retaliation.
Yeah, that retaliation includes about 100 drones that Iran sent Israel's way. Israel was able to knock apparently each and every one of them down. Meantime, you had Israel over 200 warplanes bombing Iran's nuclear infrastructure. And Israel says, listen, they say that we don't have a right to exist. They have said over and over again that they want to destroy us and kill every single Jew. And so when your enemy says this, you've got to pay attention. Israel says that 3 of Iran's top generals were killed. One of those killed was the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Now, remember, that was the Iranian military force that helped train Hamas for its attack on Israel on October 7th of 2023. Last night, again, Netanyahu speaking to the Israeli people and the world about the more alarming developments that Netanyahu says forced his hand.
For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
So Israel, you know that they took a real aggressive stance with Hamas, which I loved, and they need to do that with Hamas. They do need to do the same thing with Iran because, as you know, Iran, they fund Hamas and Hezbollah and all of these other terrorist organizations. So for me, I think this is a good thing. I think that this is something that the Iranians, they deserve it. And I think that Benjamin Netanyahu was justified in doing what he did, and it is going to continue. You've got to go in. You can't pea-foot around, if you know what I mean. You've got to go in hard. You've got to go in heavy, and you've got to go in and just get it done. And it seems like that is what is going on in Iran, courtesy of Israel. 7:17, time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 86, mixed clouds and sun with scattered thunderstorms and rain as well. I do have rain beginning around 8 o'clock this morning. Joan, people were texting in because I said that I actually wanted the Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day to be rained out.
Yeah.
Some people have said that the rain that I was praying for in the 5 o'clock hours actually started to happen in some places
You're
across
so
Middle Tennessee.
powerful with God.
That's exactly right. Well, I'm on the side of Israel.
That's right.
That's why God is shining down on us today. Anyway,
okay.
moving right along. As far as your weather on Saturday, you've got a high of 83. Sunday, possible storms and a high of 84. And yeah, we got basically rain off and on for the next 3 days. I appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So when we're talking about Iran, and I'm playing audio from Benjamin Netanyahu as he is justifying what he did last night, and I believe that he is absolutely justified. There are some that say that Iran, with their nuclear program, with a uranium enrichment as high as 60%. Now, you need 90% for a nuclear weapon. I'm no scientist, but those that are say that Iran and their progress towards a nuclear weapon has actually been alarming. And during all this time, as you know, Donald Trump has been trying to negotiate with Iran. Let us make your economy stronger. All you have to do is abandon your nuclear ambitions. All you need to do is abandon that, and we'll come to some sort of a deal, and Iran will be stronger. But Iran was playing stupid games, and now they've won stupid prizes because they weren't really negotiating with Donald Trump. They were just slowing it down. They weren't responding. Months would go without a response. And so all that time, as these negotiations are taking place, Iran is slow walking it. And at the same time, they're working on their nuclear uranium enrichment. So that's why Benjamin Netanyahu felt like he needed to do what he did last night.
80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program.
Yeah, and he spoke about ballistic missiles as well, and how at some point Iran could put a nuclear warhead on those missiles. And so the bottom line here, and I did mention this earlier, October 7th, Israel was caught napping. Benjamin Netanyahu was caught napping. and Hamas, he was playing nice with those folks. And in the years prior to October 7th, as Netanyahu and Israel, they were playing nice, they were plotting October 7th. Iran and Hamas were plotting October 7th. There was quite a time of relative peace before that. And as Israel was being nice, Hamas was plotting that attack, and they did. So Israel went scorched earth. They did go it alone as they went to root out Hamas. They did go it alone, but I think that they've done a really good job at trying to root out as much of Hamas as you possibly can. But here's the deal. Big part of Hamas is their funders, Iran.
The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program.
All right, it is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. By the way, I know to the super texters that are asking me or telling me, reminding me of my stance on President Trump and his negotiating with the terrorists of Iran. I am very much against it, and it's all the reasons that Benjamin Netanyahu was stating, which is you simply cannot trust Iran. They are terrorists. 7:22, Joan Jones, a very busy news morning, and what's coming up at 7:30?
Yeah, among Israel's must-hit list, what they knew they had to destroy in last night's attack on Iran. Also, chalk one up for President Trump. He got a win in court overnight. All of that and more coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:23, Dan Mandis here for Window Nation. Hot weather is here, and we've got great savings for new windows from my window company, Window Nation. It is their semi-annual sale going on right now, and that means you can buy 4 windows, you get 4 windows free. And you buy a whole house full of windows, and you get a free entry door. That's right. So you save on the purchase and the install of your windows from Window Nation. You are going to save money initially and for years to come because Window Nation windows, they are energy efficient. As a matter of fact, they have some of the best insulated windows on the market, and their prices are a lot better than the expensive guys. Now, with Window Nation, you've got a 96% customer satisfaction rating and over 45,000 5-star reviews, including mine. Now, don't forget that great deal. You buy 4 windows, you get 4 free. You buy a whole home full of windows, and you get a free entry door. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 866-90-NATION is the phone number, 866-90-NATION. Find them online anytime, windownation.com. Dan Mandis here, 725 Nashville's Morning News. Listen, if your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask because, some insurance companies, they refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof, and this means that the insurance company is going to depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. If you've got an older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 20-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, with King & Associates Insurance, it is going to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates one of the best insurance companies around. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review, tkinginsurance.com. $7:28, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Joan, I know how busy you are during the day after we get off, but did you see any of the testimony from these blue state governors?
Oh, yeah. This is fun.
So I think coming up in the next segment, we're just because I have not heard some of this, but from what I understand, it's really funny. Like, for example, when J.D. Pritzker couldn't answer a simple question about men being in women's bathrooms. Did you hear this one?
I didn't hear that one in particular. I heard a lot of... so the other ones were what? Tim Walz.
Yeah, you got Tim Walz. You've got...
And Kathy Hochul.
And Kathy Hochul. That's exactly right. So the big three as far as lunatic liberals. And so we're going to play some of this audio where, again, J.D. Pritzker simply cannot answer a question. Do men belong in women's bathrooms? That's number one. Number two, where Tim Walz was asked, what is a woman?
What is a woman?
And the brain trust that is Tim Walz and J.D. Pritzker and Kathy Hochul couldn't answer that. The audio coming up on WTN.
Good morning. It's now 7:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories at BNA. You've got that accident continuing this morning, the 40 westbound lanes at Donaldson Pike. There's a crash that blocks the right shoulder this morning, and currently we are sitting at 74 degrees, but we're headed up to 86 today. Looks like thunderstorms are likely. Stefano's got more in the forecast right after the news. After years of saying that Iran is an existential threat to Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made his move on Iran overnight.
In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time.
The attacks were focused on Iran's nuclear capabilities and, as General Jack Keane tells Fox News this morning, taking out Iran's ability to retaliate against the Israeli attack.
The real retaliation means of ballistic missiles. They've got 2,000 of them before the strike began. And believe me, the Israelis are very, very concerned about these ballistic missiles.
He also says the 100 drones that Iran sent out were a lame response, and all of them were destroyed before they reached Israel. An overnight win for President Trump as an appeals panel ruled that he has every right to call up the National Guard to protect federal installations and personnel from rioters. Jonathan Fahey was director of ICE during the first Trump term. He spoke to Fox News this morning.
The statute allows him to bring in the National Guard when he decides that there is an interference with federal agencies doing their jobs. And clearly that was the case here. It's not even arguable that these rioters, their whole intent was to prevent the ICE from doing their jobs. That was their stated purpose.
In a post to Truth Social this morning, President Trump praising the appeals court's decision, saying, "If I didn't send the military into Los Angeles, that city would be burning to the ground right now." Stock futures this morning lower, of course, because of the unrest in the Middle East. We've got Dow futures losing 391, NASDAQ futures down 241, and the S&P futures are down 51. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. At 7:32, Dan Mandis here. You know, the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home this summer. You can save time and make the most money, and yes, eliminate all that hassle. Now, Mark Spain Real Estate, they were ranked on the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing companies in America for now the 8th year in a row. Now, they respond fast, and they're one of the most experienced real estate teams here in Nashville. The accolades just keep coming from Mark Spain Real Estate. The Wall Street Journal, Real Trends, both have consistently named Mark Spain Real Estate as the top real estate team in America for 8 years in a row, including being ranked as the #1 real estate team in the nation for closed transactions for 5 consecutive years. You know, they sell 2 homes every single hour, making them the most experienced real estate team in America. You can trust them with the guaranteed offer. You're going to sell your home hassle-free and for maximum value. MarkSpain.com is the website. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. MarkSpain.com is the website, and start packing. Dan Med is here for USS United Structural Systems. They are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. You know, the next couple of days we could be getting some storms and some rain. You got to go down into your basement or your crawl space. Check it out. If there's water, if there's moisture, you've got to call USS United Structural Systems. Listen, I'm talking about them because I use them. Now, this is a great company, and they've helped me several times with my home. And that is why I proudly endorse them. I am actually just one of 30,000 satisfied customers. Listen to this one recent review on Google, one of many, by the way. Guy says the USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home as if they were working on their own home. And he gives USS 5 stars all the way, as do I. Now, USS, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs ever. And you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. Now, remember all that USS can do for you. They can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, foundation repair. We guarantee our best. Call USS at 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
24 in the westbound lanes in Rural Hill. Got to watch it right past Bell Road. That's where a crash is, and it takes out the right shoulders, causing a lot of delays. You've got big delays on 40 this morning as you approach the airport area in the westbound side because of an accident there, and it's causing a lot of delays. You've got South Inglewood, a crash involving injuries at McGavock Pike and Riverside Drive, and then an accident, too, in Pleasant View on 24 eastbound side past Springfield, Ashland City. An accident takes out a lane there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. Welcome on into Friday the 13th, as I've been dubbing it today, Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day for the Democrats who are going to be going out and celebrating old Kilmar here in the state of Tennessee. I absolutely love that they're doing this, and so we'll continue that conversation. I believe that Matt Murphy is on his way out there right about now, and he's going to be joining us sometime in the 8 o'clock hour. Speaking of illegal immigration, I want to play a clip for you as, I played this for you at the time, and I'm going to play it for you again. This is Tim Walz, of course. Tim Walz, former VP candidate with Kamala Harris, and the governor for the state of Minnesota.
I would say this, that I just am waiting to find out how high that wall is, because then if it's 30 foot tall, you can go invest in the 35-foot ladder. There's money to be made here, you know. So.
All right, so remember that clip. Remember that clip that is now infamous. And so you have all of these blue state governors. You had Kathy Hochul, you had J.D. Pritzker, and yes, you have also a tampon Tim Walz. And he was asked, that clip, that statement came up in conversation with Eli Crane. This was in front of, I guess, the Oversight Committee, and they're talking about the perils of illegal immigration, sanctuary cities, blue states, and all of that. And Tim Walz, I couldn't believe when I saw this, and I don't know if you saw it, Joan, but he actually said that he didn't remember making this comment.
Isn't that so weird? Like, that was a viral moment.
Let's be honest, he lied.
Do you think he lied? Okay.
Oh, you think?
Well, yeah. Okay.
He's a Democrat, Joan. Anyway, listen to this.
What does ICE stand for, Governor? Immigration, custom, enforcement, right? These are the guys that are tasked with enforcing immigration, federal immigration
That's right,
laws?
federal. That's their job. It's
so
not
you
the
think
state's
that
job.
calling them Gestapo is helping? You're not standing in the way. None of the messaging, none of the rhetoric is standing in the way of this administration doing what they've been tasked to do. Is that what you're saying?
I think what would help them is to follow due process, and when they do these missions, do the things that we expect of law enforcement.
How about when you
Identify
went on Anderson Cooper, Governor Walz, and you said, how high is this wall? If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in a 30-foot ladder factory. Do you think that that helps our federal government carry out its law enforcement, its border security, and policy operations?
When did I say that?
You went on Anderson Cooper and said that. Do you not remember saying that? Because you've said so many outlandish things that you can't even keep track of them?
The point being is...
Here's what's crazy. So Eli, Eli Crane, he is talking about an appearance on Anderson Cooper, but The audio that I just played is Tim Walz during some sort of a neighborhood discussion. So apparently he has said this multiple times, that if it's a 20-foot wall, he's going to buy a 30 to 35-foot ladder. He is lying when he says, oh, gee, Mickey the dummy, right? Gee, when did I say that? I never said that. Yeah, you
The
did.
clip is there for everybody. It's there for all Americans. If you guys want to go watch it, it's an easy Google.
You know, he should have, honestly, Joan, I mean, props to, Representative Eli Crane, but he should have had the audio ready.
That would have been really.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he needed to have a little show prep, is what Eli Crane needed, like I do. I had the audio ready. How epic would that have been? But everybody knows that he's lying.
Yeah. See, Democrats are used to putting on the show for everybody, so we're kind of used to seeing the show. You have to think like that, though. Like you have to think in terms of this is what everybody's going to remember seeing. It's really.
But here's
don't
the
you
thing,
feel
though?
like we're like in an episode of a bad television show?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you look at Tampon Tim, and you look at the comedy. Because let's be honest. I mean, Joe Biden was horrifying, but there's a lot of comedy in there too. I get it. America was in peril for like 3.5 years, 4 years, because we had a brain dead president. I understand that, but a lot of comedy there too. And so when you look at it and thank the Lord that he didn't win a second term, or the Kamala didn't win a term either. But here's the thing, is that these Democrats, like Tim Walz, know that he's lying. Eli Crane knows that Tim Walz is lying. Everybody knows that Tim Walz is lying. But the thing is, the Democrats, they don't care. They don't care that everybody knows that they're lying. They've been lying for so long that they don't even know the difference between a lie and telling the truth, because they weave in and out of facts and reality versus their narrative. And that's the problem with the Democrats, and specifically of Tim Walz in this conversation.
All right. Governor, you recently went on Gavin Newsom's podcast. You stated in regards to MAGA voters, I scare them a little bit, which is why they spend so much time on me. No, I'm serious because they know I can fix a truck. That's what.
Oh, my God, that's so stupid.
That's an incredibly vapid statement.
Republicans are scared of Tim Walz, he said, because he can fix a truck. Number one, he can only fix the older trucks that he has, because remember, that was all part of that conversation. I keep my old truck so that I can fix it myself. Well, that's all fine, well, and good, but there's Republicans and independents that can fix their own trucks as well. It's so dumb. And the reason why people are afraid of Tim Walz is because his level of Marxism is scary. That's why people are afraid of Tim Walz.
That's your direct quote. You also said on the show, I think I could kick most of their asses. I want to be very clear with you, Governor. You do scare us a bit, but it's not because you can fix a truck or change a tire. It's actually because of your radical left-wing agenda.
Oh, there you go.
Supported putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. You advocated for the disarming of Americans of their Second Amendment rights. You're pro-sanctuary city, as we have uncovered here today. You claim there is no guarantee to free speech when it comes to misinformation and hate speech. That right there is why the American people have such a hard time with you. It's not because we're crazy MAGA people. It's because of your radical left-wing agenda.
You know what the funny thing, too, is that when he said that he felt like he could, kick the tail of conservatives, the only thing I could think of is there's so many Republicans and conservatives that have been in the Mark Green. I would like Tim Walz to walk up to Congressman Mark Green while he's still in Washington, D.C. and say, yeah, I believe that I could kick your ass. I would like Tim Walz to walk up to the various members of the Republican Party who have been in the military and say what he said on whatever show that was and say that he could kick their butts. I would like him to do that. It's really easy when you're in your little blue bubble that he's in to say that the Republicans are afraid of him because he can fix a truck or that he could, kick our butts. It's like, oh, please. Please go say that to a conservative. So that was Tim Walz. And is it really 7:45? Okay, I've got more. And it's all straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on WTN. All right, as far as your weather goes, today a high of 86, mixed clouds and some sun, scattered rain as well. I do have rain. It's raining in some parts of Middle Tennessee right now. Rain on Saturday and a high of 83. Sunday, possible storms and a high of 84 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so Tim Walz versus Byron Donalds. This was ugly. This was absolutely ugly. I love Brian Donalds, and this is how that went. And again, this is blue governors trying to defend their sanctuary state policies.
You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving...
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody said an inconvenience. You have a responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the president is going through that process right now. And let's be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo. Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point that you could tweet.
There you go. And obviously, Tim Walz is not going to. And I think I played that audio, and I believe that he did call them a modern-day Gestapo. Let's see here. Governor Pritzker could not answer the question about men in women's bathrooms. And by the way, you know what I find interesting about all of this? Is that these are things that they have said. These are things that they believe. All of these things are things that they believe. They believe that a man can be a woman. They believe that ICE is a modern-day Gestapo. They don't believe that there should be a wall. And if there is a wall, then there should be, if it's a 20-foot wall, then there should be a 30 to 35-foot ladder. They believe all of these things. It's all on tape. It is all on tape. So now why is it that as they're in, under the microscope and they're in front of this congressional committee, why are they now saying, well, I don't remember that. That's not what I meant. That's not necessarily how I feel. We know exactly how they feel. This is J.D. Pritzker cannot answer a simple question. Do men belong in women's restrooms?
Do you think that biological men should be able to use women's restrooms?
I'm not sure how this has to do with immigration.
It's just a yes or no question.
Why are you?
It's very easy to answer.
This?
Do you think
I thought we were
men should be using
doing fact finding. I'm sorry.
Do you think men should be allowed in women's restrooms?
I'm not sure why this has come to this issue.
You tweeted that as a protest against President Trump, everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today. Have you ever used the women's restroom?
Not that I can recall ever, sir.
You wanted everybody else to do it, but you didn't?
So there's like silence. He doesn't know how to answer that question. But isn't it interesting that he refuses to answer the question? J.D. Pritzker, he won't answer the question. If you're so proud about your opinion that men should be in women's restrooms and locker rooms and should play on the women's sports teams and take all of the scholarships and the medals and all of the accoutrements of being successful in sports, and the men are taking it away from the women, J.D. Pritzker, you should be proud of that, if that's how you feel, because that is how the Democrats feel about all of this. All right, last one. Tim Walz, back to Tim Walz. And it's short but it's sweet. Do you think Tim Waltz, let's take bets, do you think Tim Waltz can define what a woman is? I bet most of you said no. Here's the audio.
What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Doesn't understand the question. What is a woman? It's a very. Do you know what's so funny? At some point, the Democrats will be able to have the thought process to get out there and have an answer ready for that question, because they keep getting asked the question and they keep blowing it. They don't know how to answer that question. What is a woman? It is not that hard. It's really not that hard. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Watch us on YouTube. Take the Daily Dan poll, and the Daily Dan poll today, it at least was a close one, and I like that it was a close one because those are the ones that I like to report. Do you agree with President Trump's executive order protecting illegal alien farm workers? At last check, yes, 39% agreed with President Trump protecting illegal alien farm workers. 61% of you said no. It is 7:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up at 8?
Well, we've got more this morning on what happened in Iran overnight. Israel saying that it infiltrated Iran a long time ago. And what is happening at an ICE facility in New Jersey? You know, it's the same one where some Democrats got into a tussle.
Listen, Joan, they were doing
ICE.
oversight. They were doing oversight.
They were doing oversight. I'm sorry, they didn't get a tussle. They were doing oversight when they got arrested.
With hefty woman, hefty congresswoman.
That's her,
That's
yeah.
what you called her.
I did, didn't I?
You did. I love that. You said she had a lot of heft.
I own it.
That was so funny.
Well, that's all coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, listen, Father's Day is this weekend, and if the dad in your life has a dad bod that he'd like to get rid of, help him get rid of that dad bod with the Belly Buster special from my friends at Contours. Right now, for just $99, you can get Dear Old Dad one of those Belly Buster specials if you're one of the first 10 callers. Right now at 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960. First 10 callers right now gets that $99 Belly Buster special from Contours. Most folks lose 2 inches in the middle. I did, a lot of others have as well. Taking advantage of Contours red light technology, it not only is incredibly unique, but also effective. Now, folks have been coming from all across Middle Tennessee to check out Contours. You can go to their website and see how their Belly Buster therapy featuring red light technology works. And don't forget, right now, first 10 callers for you or Dear Old Dad. $99 Belly Buster special, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960, ContoursLLC.com. 7:58. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening. There was one more, and I totally missed it with Tim Walz and Tom Emmer. Now, there again, I'm playing some of the some of this audio where these governors from blue states, these sanctuary city states, where they went to Congress for a hearing so that they could try to defend their sanctuary city policies. Enter Tom Emmer. And here's what, oh, hold on. It's on me. I think it's on me.
I guess you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. And on May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws."
There you go. I mean, it's all right there. But, you know, it is interesting, and we went through this with the Biden administration, too. I think part of what it's like the Democrat platform, the Marxist progressive platform. It's just when you need to lie. And it doesn't matter if people know you're lying. If you say it enough times, then it'll become at least your truth, Democrats. And that's what they do. It is 8 o'clock. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got to watch it on 24 westbound in Rural Hill this morning. Just past Bell Road, there's an accident. It's in the right shoulder and attracting a lot of attention. We'll have more on traffic and weather right after the news. We are learning more today about how Israel carried out the initial wave of attacks on Iran's nuclear and ballistic missiles facilities.
An Israeli security source tells ABC this morning that Mossad, which is Israel's covert intelligence agency, had entered Iran long before last night's attack and set up a secret drone base. And when the attack began last night, those explosive drones were remotely activated to target Iranian surface-to-surface missile launchers at a military base near Tehran.
That's ABC's Martha Raddatz. Those surface-to-air missiles could be used to launch nuclear missiles around the world. And new from Reuters, the strikes killed at least 20 senior Iranian commanders. That's a new number this morning. In New Jersey, 4 illegal immigrants who were being detained at an ICE facility are missing. They were able to slip out after a riot broke out and where detainees took control of parts of that facility. Here's ABC's Jaysha Patel.
At some point, security allegedly lost track of 4 detainees. This morning, we don't know their status or if they're even inside of the facility. But family members who had scheduled appointments to visit detainees yesterday were not allowed to go inside and see them.
This happened at the Delaney Hall detention facility. That's the same facility where the New York City mayor and 2 Democrat congresswomen staged a confrontation with ICE agents last month. Staying in New Jersey, there is some progress to report with the issues that have plagued Newark Liberty Airport. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says one of the runways that had been under construction has finally finished ahead of schedule.
We also had an issue with how our software program had a glitch in it. So that software at the Philly TRACON was remedied, was fixed, and things have been operating relatively smoothly at Newark.
Now, work is still underway on a fiber optic line and computer software that were the source of the ATC outages earlier this year. Protesters are now gathering at the federal courthouse in Nashville as Kilmar Abrego Garcia is expected to arrive and face prosecutors. He'll be formally arraigned on human trafficking charges and conspiracy charges. The lawyers will also battle it out over whether Abrego Garcia can stay behind bars until his trial. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Pretty steep losses in the pre-market trading this morning because of the unrest in the Middle East. We've got Dow futures down 427, NASDAQ futures down 281, S&P futures are losing 58 points. Oil is on the rise, however. It's up a little more than 8.5%. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. So out at BNA, the 40 westbound lanes at Donaldson Pike, the crash still on the right shoulder this morning. And Rural Hill, 24 westbound side, a crash on the right shoulder just past Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Joan Jones. It is Friday the 13th across Middle Tennessee, but also remember that it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day.
Getting to know you.
And so I, of course, am using this as a day to remind all of Middle Tennessee who it is, Matt Murphy, who joins me in studio, who it is that the Democrats and the progressives and all that here in Tennessee are wrapping their arms around Kilmar Abrego Garcia, human trafficking related charges, gang member, wife beater. They say he trafficked guys who did really bad things. And let's also not forget, the feds also say that he had a hand in the murder of a fellow gang member. So,
Getting to know you.
Welcome in to Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
2 thumbs up in my world.
Well, here's the deal, Dan. Every team needs a champion. And I think the Democrats, at least based on how they're acting over the last, I don't know, really it's almost been 8 years now since Donald Trump came down the escalator. They have found their new champion, or mascot, if you will.
Yeah.
And it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
I want to remind folks what it is that Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife said about him in court.
I have pictures of the evidence, like all the bruises. He hit me like around like 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and like hit me. Before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times because he hit me in front of my sister.
So there you go. Kilmar. Congratulations, Democrats. Well done.
Way to go, Democrats!
See, that's why I'm hoping that it doesn't get rained out, because I want the record to show this is the person that they are utilizing as their North.
Well, that's right. And I'm a little, I love the bit. I love what we're doing here. I'm a little off. It's a little off-putting because you're not using the Julie Andrews getting to know you, which is a far superior getting to know you.
I to be honest with you, the first time I ever heard that was when you did it. So
when I first got to Nashville, Tennessee.
I never actually heard that.
I could have directed you toward the Julie Andrews. But
does Julie Andrews have a version of like Crazy Train with Ozzy? Then I might listen.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what she's doing nowadays. But here's my question. Are you changing clothes before the protest? I mean, are these your protest clothes?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not one to give fashion advice, but I'm wondering if Joan... Is Joan back there?
Yeah, I am here, yeah.
Joan, do you think these are appropriate protest clothes?
Looks too nice, doesn't he?
He looks too good, and he's got the white hat on, which is not good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
You stick out like a sore thumb.
For people listening on the radio, I am wearing black jeans. I'm all black. I thought that I would look tough.
Your black jeans, that's a gray tee. I'm not really sure what we're doing with the coat.
I think I have a spare cafe in the back.
There we go. See, I got my protest hoodie. See, Dan? Look.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a protest hoodie. I'm a protest song. We're talking.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to throw something.
Okay.
I'm looking for some schmuck in a white hat. I'm gonna get him.
You know, beat me up if they want, but don't get mud on my hat. I'm wearing a white hat.
It's a nice hat.
It is a nice hat.
It's a nice white hat. I have a hat that I'll be wearing at the protest that says Liquid Death. It's exactly what it says.
Well,
do you like Liquid Death?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Is that like a drink?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's a water.
That's a water?
I know.
Liquid Death
It sounds
is a water?
so weird for a water, but yeah.
Does it taste different?
It tastes great. Tastes fabulous.
Then why do they
Highly
call it
recommended.
Liquid Death?
It's because we're going to kill you with hydration.
It's water in a can.
There we go, Louis. That's what I'm talking about. Water in a can. Liquid Death.
They're going to kill you with hydration.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you trip and fall on the way to the bathroom 90 times?
Yeah, this is like talking to Peepaw. I don't know if I can explain it to you people.
Fair enough, man.
No, in all seriousness, it's fascinating how far, my grandpa used to tell me that, you know what you need to do if you find yourself digging a hole? Stop digging. That's the first thing that you need to do. And the Democrats will not stop digging this hole on illegal immigration.
Well, and the thing is, I had Matthew Hurt on earlier, and one of the things that they're probably going to try to do is try to make this not about Garcia, but about due process. Well, his picture was on the flyer. His picture was literally on the flyer.
Well, their argument, they're actually planning to argue. His defenders in court today. I saw a preview of this last night. I think the Tennessee Star carried a piece on it. And their argument is because Donald Trump and his administration admitted that there was that administrative error that happened at the beginning, that he should be let free. Like everything else you've done in your life should be forgiven because there was an administrative error.
That's their play.
Well,
wow.
The fascinating thing to me is, weren't the Democrats demanding due process?
Mm-hmm.
Here you go, boys. You got some here's your due process.
Here's your due process.
Congratulations. Here's due process.
Yep.
Human smuggler. Alleged a wife beater. Due process. There you go.
Yeah.
Traffic give you everything
guy
you're due.
Supposedly had a hand in the murder of a fellow gang member. Fellow gang member, by the way, for people that say, oh, he's not a gang member.
And oh, by the way, I would remind everyone that wants to support Kilmar Abrego Garcia that if Joe Biden's administration had done its job in 2022, he would already be, in my opinion, in prison. And obviously, a jury of his peers would have to determine that. But the evidence is stark and clear that he was transporting human beings from the southern border to various points in the United States of America. It was his job. It's what he did for a living.
He didn't know he was president. Let's just be honest. I mean, they have. That's why, talking about Israel and Iran and what's going on. Okay, so do we have any idea, and I said this yesterday, how many sleeper cells are in our country right now that are really angry? So there's so many, it's like almost all of our problems date back to the 4 years under Joe Biden. So for me, it's honestly, it's easy picking. It's slim. It's easy. It's like low-hanging fruit.
Well, and I've been talking about it in the afternoon hours, and I know you've been talking about it in the morning because I've been listening, that if the Democrats truly believe what they claim to believe, America, it's fascinating. Our founding fathers set up a remedy by which you can repair all of the anger that you have about what's going on in America, and that is win elections and put people in the halls of Congress that are going to change current immigration law. The current immigration law is crystal clear, and it was passed by Congress. It wasn't passed by a king. It wasn't dictated by Donald Trump. It was passed by previous Congresses. It's just they don't care about the law. They care about performance, and I don't think there's any better example of that than Mr. Padilla.
Oh, that was so fun.
So good.
I bet you had a lot of fun with that.
He didn't lunge. He said he didn't lunge. There was no lunge, Dan. There was no lunge
whatsoever.
There might have been some physical contact. Well, I don't know. He almost lost his lunch on the floor when they put him face plant. I hope he got carpet burn. I really do.
You know, if that's the only thing he has to worry about is carpet burn, he got off pretty lucky. Can I ask a question? So one of the things, and I played the audio, but the whole story. So if they were going to charge him when they didn't know he was a senator, and I don't know if they're going to charge him or not, but if they were going to charge him, and they talked about that, but then they found out he was a senator, so they took the handcuffs off, well, then he's getting special treatment.
Yes.
Because if he was good enough to handcuff when they didn't know that he was a senator, then they should have kept him in handcuffs. Otherwise, when they found out he was a senator, because now what they're doing is they're showing favorable treatment.
Well, yeah, that some people are above the law. And it's the open secret in Washington, D.C. and beyond that senators and representatives and, executive muckety-mucks in the executive branch of government, they do get special treatment. I mean, there's no question about it. But did you hear that Padilla reportedly intentionally took off his Senate pin?
Yeah.
I mean, they have those Senate pins and those House of Representative pins specifically to identify themselves so that law enforcement just have a sense of who they're dealing with. That it's just not some schmo off the street.
We talked about that earlier. And here's the thing, is that their word on the street is that the Democrats' new plan is to start getting arrested purposely.
Good. Let's do more of that, please.
Why not? I mean, listen, if they want to go out and they want to get arrested, I think the hysterical thing is that there's people that I would think are pretty smart. They think that this is a winning strategy.
It's an old quote from William F. Buckley. Democrats are groups of people that gather together in little settings and talk about how open they are and tolerant they are of other ideas, and then they are shocked and dismayed to learn that there are any.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So they get together and they think the rest of the country thinks like them.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that this is truly an 80-20 issue.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
The vast majority of the American people simply want law and order followed and want illegal alien criminals out of the country.
So it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
So what are you predicting for today's Kilmar Brigo Garcia Appreciation Day?
Here's what my gut tells me. In all seriousness, I think today will be relatively calm and low-key as a precursor till tomorrow. I think tomorrow is the day that things might nationwide get out of hand, including here in the city of Nashville, because there's a planned event at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at Bicentennial Mall, and it will obviously go on throughout the day. So
what is it? So can I ask a question? So I understand that they're going with this narrative that Donald Trump is a king, right? Thinks he's a king. But what is their ultimate, like they're going to be protesting, there's probably going to be violence across the country, but nowhere has Donald Trump ever claimed to be a king. By the way, if he was a king, then he would go ahead and just decree the big, beautiful bill as officially passed.
And why is he following court orders?
And why is he following court orders? That's another one.
It makes
why
no
is
sense.
So they don't, again, I thought that some of these people were smart. Clearly, I don't believe that they are.
Well, and I've asked the question on the afternoon show for the last week. Explain to me, and I'm not trying to be intentionally obtuse. Right. Explain to me what the people in Los Angeles want. I don't. What do you want?
I think they want Matt.
You want open borders?
No, they want free TVs. That's what they want. They want free television.
Gucci bags.
They want free TVs. I told Joan when I lived in Los Angeles, it was like, honey, we need a new TV. Let's wait for the next riot.
Yeah,
then we'll just run down to Best Buy or whatever it is, and we'll go ahead and do that.
I'm oppressed. I need a Samsung.
Oh, that is so funny. Yes, absolutely. And so what they want is they want to destabilize America. That's what they want to do. They want to destabilize our country, and they want to make it look like they are out there fighting for democracy. They're fighting, against the oppressor, the king, Donald Trump. But I think this is just more tone deafness on their part, because even now, I mean, look at Harry Enton on CNN. He gets so excited when he sees that the American people are for Donald Trump when it comes to the economy, when it comes to what he's doing with illegal immigration as well.
It is Saul Alinsky rules for radicals, right? You try to convince most of the American people, as frustrated as we are about this issue or that issue, we recognize that we are still the greatest country on God's green earth. Mm-hmm. But what you do is you present, and you have a compliant media that helps you do so.
Yeah.
You present this narrative that America isn't working. And look at the evidence in Los Angeles. Look at Seattle. Look at Portland. Look at Minneapolis, and on and on and on it goes. America isn't working, guys. They're, burning trash cans in the streets and whatnot. And you convince people to vote against their better interest as a result. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Vote Democrat, and we'll get America working again for the people of the United States of America. And what they really mean is socialism.
Isn't that, though? I mean, that's from 60s, 70s, but these days, when there's so much evidence to the contrary, that their narrative is literally a lie, and we all know what they're doing. Do you think the American people will fall for that?
No.
I don't think so either.
I think it's one of the best things that we have going for us. I say it all the time. One of the best things we have going for us is that they think you're dumb.
That's why I was saying earlier that I initially made the comment, sort of joking, that I hope the Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day was rained out. But then I said, well, what am I saying? No, I want it to go on because I want people to see the kind of person that they are supporting and using as their mascot or hero.
I'm going to try to. I've got some audio devices that I'm going to utilize to get some recordings for the crowd. If it works, and if I feel like the crowd is receptive to being interviewed, I want to interview folks, and I want them to tell me their favorite Kilmar Abrego Garcia story.
I love that.
Tell me your thoughts about the man that is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I mean,
so you're gonna
make it personal.
Yeah, that's right.
Share with us what Kilmar Abrego Garcia means to you.
That's right. What is Abrego Garcia? If you could send a message to Kilmar, messages to Kilmar. That's what we should do.
Messages to Kilmar.
Notes to Kilmar. If you could send a note to Kilmar today, what would it be?
How has Kilmar Abrego Garcia affected your life?
That's right. I mean, the impact that this man has made and the persecution that he's going through because of what he's done for this country.
Would you advocate for an official federal holiday for Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Would you sign up? Oh, my God. All right,
we can call it Maryland Man today.
What we need to do is we need to get like an Excel spreadsheet, and we've got a petition. And what we're doing is we're trying to get, the state of Tennessee and the federal government to have a Kilmar Abrego Garcia Day in honor of Kilmar. Would you sign the petition?
I'm certain that you would get so many signatures.
So here's our problem, right? We're on YouTube, and I think people, especially you, I think we're kind of known as, kind of muckrakers. Is that what they call them?
I think it's muckrakers.
Muckrakers?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Muckrakers,
whatever. So do you think like somebody might recognize, I mean, you're more recognizable than I am.
They'll recognize you long before
they won't recognize me.
I mean, you look like a rabble-rouser without the jacket, though.
No, that's rabble-raiser.
Pardon me.
Muckraker and
Muckraker and rabble-raiser.
Yes, there you go. Anyway.
No, you honestly think these people get up early enough to listen to your show or hang around? I mean, no. I mean, I don't think they're paying attention to what's really going on in the world. They're just getting marching.
That's a great point, actually. That is a great point. Because no rational person, even if they have purple hair and bolts in their face, most rational people would look at the history of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and say, this is not someone we should be putting our arms around.
I bet you that I could create a false background story for Kilmar Abrego Garcia and convince some of these people down in front of the federal courthouse to go along with it. In other words, like, don't you think, hey, guy, you start asking questions and say, wasn't it shameful? I mean, considering that he reportedly in 2008 voted for John McCain over Barack Obama in the country, and it's ridiculous that they're characterizing him in this way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's awful. Yeah, they don't know.
They have no idea.
No, they're just useful. I mean, most of them are useful idiots. And it's one of the reasons that, and Chad Benson and I were talking about this, would you define what's going on in L.A. as a quote-unquote insurrection? And I understand that one man's insurrection is another man's riot, one man's riot, whatever. But I would suggest that when you have people that are off-site, that are making decisions for their own political purposes and their own political gains and their own radicalism, and they're using useful idiots on site and they're manipulating those people and paying those people to do it. Yeah, I mean, that you if that's not an insurrection, you're getting awful close.
Absolutely. All right, anything else?
No, I'm going down.
Yeah, it's Friday the 13th.
I'm very excited. Oh, that's true.
So,
are you superstitious?
No.
No?
You know what? You know me.
I know.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on. If you don't have your bubble bath every day, you get angry.
First of all, you know me, Matt. For me, every day is Friday the 13th.
That is true. That is true. Every day. Dan's just waiting to turn the corner for everything to go wrong.
That's exactly right.
Everything's great. Everything's you call Dan up. How's the show? Show was great. Everything's great, but something's going to
Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen.
Just wait for it. I can feel it. Just so we're clear, I will be getting rid of the Mr. Rogers sweater when I get down there.
Is that what that is? A sweater?
Yeah,
I'm genuinely confused. It wants to be a coat, but it's kind of wants to be.
It's blazer.
It's like a blazer sweater kind of a thing.
It's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of one of these transgender guys.
Oh man.
That you can tell they're dressing themselves up in a certain way and they want to be a certain thing, but they're never going to quite get there.
Listen,
that poor coat wants to be a blazer so bad.
This coat identifies as a blazer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but here's the.
Have you named her?
I've got. So I think we're done here, actually.
Look.
Chris is kicking you out of his studio.
I've got my keffiyeh and I've got my brass knuckles. I'm ready to go.
Hand is not here today, and I made a promise to him that I would give you holy hell during the 8 o'clock hour. So
there you go.
I've fulfilled my promise. There you
go. Thank you.
All right, look for me down there. I'm going.
All right. Good luck. And when you get down there,
I'll try to give you a call.
Yeah, call us and let us know if there's anybody down there.
I mean, I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful too.
We're going to find out.
It might be sprinkling. We wouldn't want them to get their,
Their sugar, they'll melt.
That's exactly
You know how that goes.
All right, I'll see you down there. It'll be fun. All right. Joe Jones, 8:20. I know we're running late. You know what? Murphy Show, whenever he's here, we run late, but he's worth it. That's what I say. Matt Murphy, late, but worth it. All right, 8:26. Joan, what's coming up?
The search is on for a missing girl in Gallatin and some scary moments at a local rehab facility. Those stories coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
(8:27) Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, if you're a business owner, I need you to look at or think about the floor in your business. If it looks ugly, if it looks beat up, if it needs a little love, my friends at Specialty Coatings can help you, because oftentimes your floor is that first impression. Now, my friends at Specialty Coatings, they can help you. Now, they specialize in concrete floor coatings and polished concrete, and they've been doing it for 30 years. You've probably walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coating. They've done work in arenas and stadiums and convention centers as well here in Tennessee. You know that just over last year, listen to these numbers. Just over the last year, 12 months, Specialty Coatings in Nashville installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across Middle Tennessee and Tennessee. Now, those buildings include manufacturing, warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and so much more. Specialty Coatings, they're not some fly-by-night company. They have been around for 30 years. They've got the equipment. They've got the skilled installers as well. So your job is going to be on time and on budget. No matter how bad your floor looks, Specialty Coatings can fix it. And each project is customized to your building and needs. Call them at 615-591-9491, 615-591-9491. Email them, sales@specialtycoat.com, the website, specialtycoat.com.
Good morning. It's now 8:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Protests for and against Kilmar Abrego Garcia outside the federal courthouse in downtown Nashville this morning. And a march to the courthouse was canceled, allegedly because of security concerns. Now, Abrego Garcia will be formally arraigned on human trafficking and conspiracy charges today. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac on the effort to keep him behind bars until his trial.
His defenders say the government cannot prove he's a danger or a flight risk. Outside the courthouse, members of Indivisible Tennessee will be gathering this morning. They tell me they are protesting because what's happening is not just about one man, it's about human rights.
Metro Police will be there too. They say peaceful protests are okay, but violence will not be tolerated. In Gallatin, police are searching for a missing 15-year-old girl with a medical condition. We know her first name only. It's Azaria, and police say she has type 1 diabetes and uses an insulin pump. She is black, 4 foot 11 inches, and weighs about 140 pounds. Azaria was last seen on Tuesday walking with a friend near Walnut Crest Drive carrying a black and white backpack. Scary scene at a rehab facility in Old Hickory yesterday when a man jumped the fence onto the property and then wrestled with a security guard over his weapon. The intruder, 37-year-old Justin Miller, allegedly took that guard's weapon, held it to his head, and pulled the trigger. But the safety was on, saving the guard's life. Miller eventually dropped the weapon and surrendered. He's in jail this morning, charged with attempted criminal homicide. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stocks are beginning trading lower today, falling, more than 500 points on the Dow Jones Industrials after the airstrikes on Iran. It also spiked oil prices. Oil prices are now up 8%. And energy prices should be running higher most of the day. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. You know, my upstairs bathtub, it's actually got holes in it. It does. It's got holes in it. It's really
What kind of
ugly.
bathroom is it?
It does need a lot of work. Now, enter my friends at Zentex. If you've got a bathtub that needs work, they've been in business since 2001. They are here to help you. Now, at Zentex, they can remodel your shower, they can remodel your bathtub, or even convert that bathtub into a walk-in shower. Now, these types of home improvements, they can increase the value of your home, and Zentex can have it wrapped up in a day. Now, Zentex is an award-winning company that offers limited lifetime warranties for both their products and their installation. Now, you can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower complete with grab bars and a bench seat for the older folks. This is a great way to help the older folks in your life who need that assist and support. So fix, remodel, or convert that bathtub into a shower today with Zentex. That phone number is 629-258-7747, 629-258-7747. A great deal going on right now. You mentioned WTN, you get $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works best for you. And also, no payments for 2 years. Zintex, Zentex.com.
Oh, boy. 24 westbound side in Rural Hill, a mess just past Bell Road because of a crash that's on the right shoulder. Out at BNA 40 westbound, more problems there at Donaldson Pike with another crash reported. And in Burns, you've got 40 westbound near I-840. There's an accident reported as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, 8:35. Busy Bee, plumbing, heating, and cooling. Listen, it is June. It's time to get your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way. Now, with Busy Bee, you can get a free trip to the beach. Listen to this great offer from Busy Bee. You purchase a new AC unit here in the month of June, and you're going to be entered to win a free 3-day beach getaway. Now, you buy the unit. They will take care of the vacation, including gas, a couple of meals per day, and lodging. The winner is going to be announced on Facebook Live. Now, don't forget all of our June specials. Now, you can get those air ducts cleaned. They're giving you a free package upgrade. Now, you buy the middle tier package. We upgrade you to the deluxe package. How about $500 off select tankless water heaters or upright water heaters as well? Maybe you'd like 15% off of a whole home drain repipe. Now, I could go on for an hour about all the specials at Busy Bee. They are always looking for ways to save you money. Check them out online, busybeehvac.com, busybeehvac.com. That phone number is 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. 8:39, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Joan Jones, and Brian Wilson is going to be in for Chris Hand. He is coming up at 9. I believe he joins us now. Brian?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm just, I'm trying to figure out what in the world am I going to talk about today?
Boy, I don't know, Brian. Now, I need to clear something up. So, because people are like coming down on me for ignoring Joan Jones when she made a comment right outside of her newscast, I guess. So, I missed what you said, Joan, when I was going into the Zentex spot, the Zentex commercial.
Every time you say it, I think, what kind of a home do you live in that you've got holes in your bathtub?
I do. I have holes in my bathtub.
Honestly.
This is, and Brian knows how much work. We bought a fixer-upper like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, I see.
So this bathtub is I think it's the last thing we have to do. But I'll post pictures. But the thing is, I didn't actually hear what you said.
Yeah.
Little known fact about me is that when I start doing commercials, I turn the volume down because I hate the sound of my voice. So I didn't hear you, and people are saying, "Hey, you just completely blew off Joan." It's like the only time that I keep my headphones up is when Joan and I are speaking, and so sometimes she'll pop in or somebody will pop in, and I've got my headphones down because I don't like to hear my voice.
I think that's silly. What's wrong with your voice? I think this is a whole other.
He's got a voice made for radio.
That's right.
And a face made for radio as well.
Don't we all have that, though? Isn't that why we're all in radio?
Do you know what I thought? Do you know what I thought was interesting, Brian?
What?
What I thought was interesting is Murphy Show was in here dogging on my little sweater vest thing, and that apparently identifies now as a blazer. But Joan starts in on the ribbing, but it was Joan Jones who actually said a while ago that she really liked this outfit. And then Murphy Show starts dogging on me, and she just jumps right
outfits? I'm not
right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might
it's emasculating to say.
It's a cute top you have there.
Yeah.
Dan.
Whatever. Listen, I'm wearing all black, and I've got my little sweater thing that people like.
No, let me just tell you something. That's not black. You also are colorblind. That's gray.
Well, gray is nothing but light black.
Oh, my goodness.
Like my mood is suddenly getting into a black. Anyway, whatever.
Your outfit is gray. Okay?
Brian, what are you wearing today?
I'm in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts.
There you go. All right, very good. This is the kind of things I have to endure, Brian. Not much has changed.
Well, no, it's a daily endurance that you have to go through.
It sure is.
So I found an interesting little tidbit. I did not know this.
Okay.
If I can bring a little something here.
Sure.
Do you know that apparently we have Army soldiers on the moon?
Army soldiers on the moon.
Yeah, I'm not making this up.
Okay.
The U.S. Secretary of the Army is a guy named Dan Driscoll, and he's doing an interview, and he's talking about how the big parade in Washington is coming, and it's a tribute to the Army, and it's helping our recruitment. And listen to what he said.
This will continue the strength in recruiting and retention that we have as young Americans across the country get to see all of the amazing things that the Army has done, whether it's helping with floods in North Carolina or wildfires in California. Or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon,
He said he talked to an astronaut who was on the moon.
Soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the free.
I don't think we actually have Army soldiers on the moon. I think we have an Army person who is an astronaut on the International Space Station. But that's not what he said.
Brian, I don't know. I listen to Chris Hand, and he's into all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, well, he doesn't believe that birds are real.
Or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier.
Wow.
How do you not hear that?
You know what? And who was that?
That was the Secretary of the Army.
Okay, well, we all misspeak, some of us more than others.
Yep, I know.
Hey, Brian, can I ask you, because I had forgotten that you're filling in for Chris Hand, but I'm actually glad that you are, in the sense that I want your take on this whole thing with Alex Padilla. Now, you know the story, I'm positive. He is that senator who tried to crash Kristi Noem's press briefing yesterday.
Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that should rotate.
Yeah, they got him by the armpits, the
and
forearms.
then they grabbed him and shoved him to the floor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Brian, but I
in a perfect world, I think that they probably would not have manhandled a United States senator had they understood in real time the people in the room who he was. I don't think he identified himself in the early going, and I think that they had strict orders. If anybody tries to break this thing up, you're to escort him from the room, because they every time that you get somebody in front of a microphone, it seems from the Trump administration, somebody tries to to interfere, and I think they just had their marching orders, and I don't think in real time they figured out, oh, this is a United States senator. Apparently, there are federal buildings in Los Angeles where not only are they conducting the ICE operations, but you also have, the offices of senators in these federal buildings. And I think he was there, and I think he decided to walk up. Nobody knew he was coming.
Right.
And so, here's the thing. It was an attempt to try to big dog and steal the show. He wanted a confrontation. He got a confrontation. And, it was, I think, initially a misunderstanding. Well, when you jump in the middle of a press conference and sensitivities are already very high, and people are on high alert, don't be surprised if you get wrestled to the ground.
Well, do you think there's any truth to the fact that he apparently was supposed to be wearing his little Senate lapel pin, and he purposely took it off so that they would throw him to the ground?
I don't know, but I mean, normally when you are on Capitol Hill, you wear your little pin, and people salute and execute when you come through with that pin. But I don't know what he was doing. He was not on Capitol Hill, obviously. He was in L.A. Yep. What was he doing in L.A.? There were things to do in Washington. I don't know, but one way or the other, he wanted a fight. He got a fight, and I don't think it worked out well for them.
Oh, no. I mean, and here's the thing, is that there's a couple of stories out there today where apparently the Democrats are trying to get arrested, because that's part of, I guess, they're plotting to get the House of Representatives back, and that's in the Senate, and they want to get arrested because that will prove somehow that Donald Trump is a king.
I don't understand why that they continue to just fall for Donald Trump's. I mean, he's just reeling them in. If he's for something, they're automatically going to be against it, but that forces them into some very unpopular positions with the American people. And I don't think it's working for them at all. And Trump is brilliant by forcing them into these very unpopular positions that Americans by and large do not support.
What's bad behavior too? It is just bad behavior. It's like, first of all, if you see the video of Padilla, he comes storming in there. So I don't give a crap if he's
somebody
a senator
comes storming
or not.
in and he starts yelling in the middle of a press conference, and we're all on edge anyway. You're going to get wrestled to the ground. I don't care if you're a U.S. senator or not.
Mm-hmm. I want to play for you some audio if I could. I'm going to play you. This is audio from Elizabeth Warren, and this kind of proves to you what the Democrats are trying to do. Right? The Democrats are trying to make hay out of this, and this was Elizabeth Warren. By the way, she is fast walking through a parking garage.
I came to the press conference to hear what...
That's not him. This is it.
When Senator Padilla gets pushed, shoved, thrown to the... handcuffed because he is asking questions, because he is engaging in the very oversight that senators are supposed to engage in, then what we're really talking about here is a Trump administration that just wants to shut down the ordinary functions of government. Look, I do a lot of oversight myself. I ask a lot of questions because that's how it works in a democracy. We use our words to hold people accountable. We don't use our fists. We don't shove.
Smoke signals?
Every
time I use that
single
joke.
time she opens her mouth, I walk away saying, just give me more of her. Give me all of the Elizabeth Warren that you can give me, because it almost always it's like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Well,
every time she gets in front of a microphone.
And she always sounds like she's crying. Here's one last 5 seconds.
I know, it's so emotional.
It is.
We don't try to knock people down. We use our words. That's what oversight is all about. And that's what I want to go to the floor.
So there you go. So the Democrats, of course, up in arms, and they're really angry and upset about all of this. And that's, at least to me, that's what they're trying to do, is they want to have those moments where they can decry the Trump administration for trying to jail people for asking questions. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, they're playing to their base. The problem is that their base is shrinking.
Yeah.
There's not much base left. I mean, there are some hardcore Democrats who are right in line with all of that kind of stuff, and so every time you have some kind of protest, it does not work well for the Democrats in the grand scheme of things, because this does not resonate with the American people.
Hey, do you guys want to hear a great Florida man story?
Oh, yeah.
Brian, want to hear a great Florida man story?
I'm always up for a Florida man story.
Okay, but this is a good one. This is it Brevard County?
Yes, Brevard.
Brevard County.
Brevard County, Florida Sheriff Wayne Ivey.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street.
Yes.
If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at.
Oh, my goodness.
Because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Wow.
This has got to stop.
There you go. Wayne Ivey, Brevard County, Florida Sheriff.
Is anybody in doubt about what he's trying to say there?
No.
Couldn't have been more direct, huh?
By the way, I'm getting some photographs from Matt Murphy at the Kilmar Abrego Garcia Appreciation Day out there. And people have shown up. And I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's early yet, but there are some people out there with some
signs. Well, it doesn't really start till 10 o'clock. And this is the thing that, I was listening earlier when Matt was saying he thinks that the bigger day is going to be tomorrow. I think so, too, but we'll see what's going to happen here. I mean, the one thing you need to know is, I would say about 10 o'clock, last time I checked looking at the radar, we're going to be having some rain coming through here.
Yeah, we are.
And then, one thing that I found in D.C. is that, people want to protest unless there happens to be some rain.
Right.
And then they don't show up. In huge numbers, they will not show up because they just don't want to get wet.
Well, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow, too.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So I don't know it's going to have a great impact here, but, we're watching it. I saw some pictures from Fox 17. I was watching their coverage this morning, and it seemed to me there are more reporters and camera people than there are protesters, but it's early.
It is early. All right, real quick, Brian, what do you got for 9 o'clock?
Well, I'm going to be talking about what happened, overseas with Israel attacking Iran, what it means for the United States. We'll get into that. About 10 o'clock, we'll check in and see with you. I think you're going down to the event, right?
Yep.
And we got Matt down there, so maybe you guys could call in and give me some guidance on how it's going down there and how this thing is shaping up with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his arraignment today. And can you imagine? The judge might just release him.
However,
I cannot imagine. Well, then, if the judge releases him, ICE will be there. Can they just then
and that's what
pick him up?
Politico says that's what would happen.
Yeah.
ICE would pick him up and hold him.
Okay, very good.
He's not going anywhere.
Thank you, Brian. Can't wait to hear you after the news at 9. And Joan Jones is in the dust-encrusted news corner with whatever's coming up next.
Yeah, what's on President Trump's agenda today after that attack on Iran overnight? And a federal judge has just issued an order regarding President Trump's executive order on elections. We'll tell you how that went coming up here at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:54 Nashville. 8:54 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here, and listen, the weather in Middle Tennessee, you know that it gets crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Now, they are the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. When the power's out in your neighborhood, your power at your home is going to be on thanks to your backup home standby generator from the Generator Supercenter. Again, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. They're not going to leave you in the dark. They feature expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. Financing is available. 615-879-1952, 615-879-1952, Generator Supercenter of Nashville.com. $8:58, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Joan, have you seen this amazing story? You know, yesterday we spoke about the Air India plane crash.
Yeah.
241 people died. One person survived.
One guy.
How? Like, how did he survive? He was in, by the way, he was in seat 11A.
And, oh, wow, so he was pretty far up in the plane.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, I don't know if it's funny, but he walked away from the plane. Like, it wasn't they carried him out in a stretcher. He walked away.
How?
It's insane. His brother was sitting next to him. He's missing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they've got to do some sort of investigation as to how he survived.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that is just, insane. So, because people are always you ever think about this? So when a plane crashes, they say that it's so random as to who survives and who doesn't. And it's like the back of the plane, middle of the plane, front of the plane, which is the safest? And they just say it depends on the crash. So anyway. Hey, June 17th, Tuesday, Kings Bowl in Cool Springs. It's all of us going to be live, including Murphy, beginning at 3. It is our mid-year review. The event is free. Joan, you going to be there, yes or no?
I will be there.
Joan Jones is going to be there. We just doubled our attendance. Thank you, Joan. And again, it is free. So looking forward to seeing you all folks there. The details are at 997WTN.com.